Cara Maria Sorbello, a name that has been synonymous with the MTV's challenge for quite a while now. We've seen Cara embrace the hardships and obstacles of the game where it led to much success. At one point, Cara was the face of the challenge, being one of the most skilled and experienced cast members on the show, as well as being prominently featured on promotional items. She has put together quite the career so far on the challenge, going from unlikely competitor to scrappy underdog, and then to become the first solo winner. But after season 34, Cara Maria would take an indefinite leave of absence from the show. Conspiracy theories have circled her hiatus, ranging between failed psych tests to people claiming she's blacklisted from the challenge. What is the truth? How did someone who had such an impact on the challenge and described as a GOAT of the game in a docuseries made by MTV not even get called to talk in her own segment of the docuseries and deemed a villain at one point by fans and possibly by production? To get the full scope of the situation, we need to go back to learn about Cara Maria. Cara Maria Sorbello is from Methuen, Massachusetts, which is about 30 miles from Boston. Cara Maria was an only child, never was much into sports but loved riding horses and making art. Cara Maria finished high school, went to Endicott College, a private university where she graduated with a BA in psychology, bolstering a 3.8 GPA. In interviews, Cara mentioned that while in college, there was a moment where she applied to be on The Real World. On the Challenge Mania podcast in particular, she tells a story of her friends being too fixated by a particular real-world episode while trying to talk with them. So that day, she went to MTV.com to put in an application on the reasoning that if she's on The Real World, that her friends will pay attention to what she has to say then.
Whatever, I was like, well, if they're not gonna pay attention to me, I'm gonna make them. And it was like a joke. I went home, I went to MTV.com, I went to casting, I scrolled down the bottom, I was like, oh, Real World, okay, click. And it said Real World casting is closed. And I was like, whatever, I'll just submit my crap anyways. And I submitted about 3 pictures and like 3 sentences. And I was like, I'm an only child, I love horses, I drive a stick shift, bar. That's it.
Unfortunately, the casting process for The Real World was closed at the time, but she applied anyways. On the podcast episode, she stated she did it mainly as a joke, and there was no way that they would call her. But then MTV called and wanted to meet Cara Maria for her to be on one of their shows. Not The Real World, but the Bad Girls Club. Cara Maria knew that wasn't going to be the show for her, but she went to meet up with the MTV representatives anyways. She felt that at least they could meet her, get to know her, and hopefully get her on a different MTV show. After the meeting with MTV and whom she deems Boston's finest,
I ended up going. I'm surrounded at a table by these girls that are like, yeah, my daddy abandoned me when I was like 10, and then I slept on the streets, and I've been, putting a in a mouth for the $5. I was just surrounded by Boston's finest anyways.
She was contacted again by MTV, who was interested in possibly getting Cara on either Real World Cancun or Real World DC, but that ultimately didn't happen. It's at this time I would like to turn your attention over to Cara's Model Mayhem profile, which has been a valuable treasure trove of information for Cara's early life and work before the challenge. According to the page, she joined the modeling agency circa 2006. In her profile, Cara Maria describes herself as an independent professional model where she's been modeling in and out of the Boston area for several years at the time of writing the bio, as well as getting into some of her modeling credits, saying she's walked in numerous fashion shows, worked many promotions/parties for companies, and have represented Coors Light, Budweiser, Barstool Sports Magazine, and Maxim, just to name a few. Her resume is well filled out from print, runway, digital, and film work. The earliest credit looks to be around 2004 to 2005. Cara Maria's modeling resume is really impressive, especially pre the challenge Cara. She was on multiple calendar shoots, runway shows, featured in music videos, movies such as 21 and Porky's Pimpin' Pee-wee. Going back to the Challenge Mania podcast episode, Cara Maria said that around 2009 she moved out to California. While getting modeling and small acting gigs, Cara's more stable job was working at what she says is a fetish bar.
I moved to LA, totally got into my rock and roll lifestyle. I was working at a fetish bar. I was dressing in leather. I thought I was a vampire pirate. And they call me and they're like, we want to do an interview with you. And I'm like, again? The next day they're like, you're cast for the fresh meat. And I was like, what is that? And then cue Life Now, and somehow they kept calling me back.
This time, MTV wanted Cara Maria to film for MTV's The Challenge Fresh Meat 2. The Challenge was debuting its 19th season called Fresh Meat 2. This was a sequel to the 12th season entitled Fresh Meat that premiered 4 years prior, where on the season, Challenge veterans would be paired up with completely new contestants who had not previously appeared on an MTV show. Season 12 was a big hit with allowing strong veterans to compete against each other while getting the rookies' feet wet. It also led to some new players getting screen time, where some would go on to become champions and icons themselves. The Challenge was hoping to have similar success this go around, with Fresh Meat 2 looking for some big personalities before the show entered its 20th season and beyond. Fresh Meat 2 began with a special episode 0 called Meet the Meat, focusing solely on the 13 rookies and getting a chance to learn more about them. This is where we are introduced to a 23-year-old Cara Maria Sorbello from Methuen, Massachusetts.
Cara Maria, I'm 23 years old and I'm from Methuen, Massachusetts. You would look at me and think that I'm the party girl. I'm the one that's gonna get crazy and drunk and naked, but they'll see. You can't judge a book by its cover.
First impressions, one could see Cara is a bit quiet, more reserved compared to some of her other Fresh Meat cast members. But it's when we see her compete in the Combine is where Cara gets to shine. In the Fresh Meat Combine, the competitors had to do various tasks such as pull-ups, vertical leap, 40-yard dash, and a challenge-made mini obstacle course. Cara Maria showed she had natural athletic ability, as we've heard her say to MTV and in other interviews years later after season 19 that she never really exercised outside of riding horses back then. Cara Maria surprised everyone as she got the most pull-ups and ran the fastest 40 on the women's side of the competition. She tied for third on the vertical leap. Her obstacle course time left much to be desired, but at least she finished. Now in the edit, we really only saw 4 competitions, but they put these rookies to work, making them do the shuttle run, 3-cone drill, bench press, and a broad jump as well. Luckily, we can see all of Cara's stats listed in a frame during the first episode. Despite putting up decent numbers, you can tell Cara doesn't have the most confidence in herself. Well, maybe she would gain more confidence being the #1 picked rookie and being partnered up with a 4-time champion in Darrell Taylor.
Yeah, I want to pick Cara Marie.
I love you.
Wait. This moment isn't as straightforward as the edit might make it seem. Rumors surrounded the #1 draft pick, with many saying Darrell actually didn't pick Cara Maria first, but instead picked Laurel. But because of production having to reset a camera, they had to reshoot the scene, where during the reshoot, Darrell switched his pick to Cara Maria instead. This rumor was proven true by Cara, confirming that Darrell indeed changed his pick.
Big rumor was that Darrell picked Laurel at first, and then they redid it and picked you.
No, it's not a rumor. It's what actually happened. He said because our stats were pretty comparable and he wanted to pick her, but he said if there's ever anything where you have to hold your partner over something or carry, he wanted somebody smaller. Like, I was just easier. On paper, we were pretty comparable.
As mentioned, Darrell is a 4-time challenge champion, with one of his wins coming in the original Fresh Meat back in 2006 with his partner Aviv. During the season 12 finals, the men had to carry their partners for a stretch of time. Darrell saw Cara's stats and her stature, thinking if at some point he had to hold his partner for a portion of the finals or a daily challenge, that Cara Maria was the best person to pick. Now, it can be very valuable to have such a successful and decorated player like Darrell as your partner, but it can also be the biggest target on your back. Wes and Kenny made a pact to not target each other and instead turn their efforts into taking out Darrell as soon as possible. Like I mentioned earlier, Darrell won Fresh Meat Season 12. 2 other people who competed against him on Fresh Meat was Wes and Kenny. They knew Darrell was a major threat, but also Wes and Darrell had butted heads in the previous season in Season 18, The Ruins, where they almost came to blows. If they could have found the front door. Kenny and Laurel won the first daily challenge, getting to send anyone they wanted into exile. Their choice was none other than Cara and Darrell. Wes used his pool in the house to send the tough team of Pete and Jill into the elimination in hopes they would be able to send the well-decorated champ home, which they did. Cara exited Fresh Meat 2 in the first episode, thinking that she'd never get another chance at competing on the challenge ever again. However, Cara Maria would not have to wait long to get another opportunity to compete on the challenge, as she was back for the next season, Season 20, Cutthroat. Cutthroat was unique in the sense that it was the first time the challenge would be ran in 3 teams. To add to the chaos, there was a twist that the last place finishers in the race to the gulag would be picking the teams. The rookie Camilla would be picking for the red team, Siobhan would pick for the gray team, and Emily Fitzpatrick would pick for the blue team. Cara Maria was the first pick in season 19, but this season she was picked in the 8th round, the second to last woman picked, right after Mandy, but before Katie. Cara found herself on the gray team with fellow Fresh Me 2 alum Luke, Vinny, and Laurel, as well as 2 rookies in Aya and JD. This was Sarah's 3rd season, and this was Dan's 2nd after debuting on the island. As we can see, this was a very young gray team with not much to their resumes up to that point. The major bright spot for the gray team was Abram, a 2-time challenge champ who was willing to step up as the leader. Night 1, Cara found herself attracted to Abram, who had a mutual attraction to Cara Maria. They helped paint each other's faces and were deemed weirdos.
Love at first sight over here. These 2 weird bastards have found each other.
As the season progressed, Cara and Abram's relationship would grow stronger and stronger. It was pretty evident to the house that Cara and Abram had fallen for each other, which caused some dissension within the gray team. On the season, the gray team was pretty dominant in all aspects leading up to the finals. They won 5 of 9 daily challenges. However, even with winning so much, it was anything but smooth sailing for them.
You are a JV player that I feel is going into a final. You want to know why I'm angry? That's why, because I have to share that money with you. I am ready. I'm in the final with you, aren't I?
In episode 7, Laurel and Sarah, who had struck up a friendship on the season, wanted Cara Maria to be sent into the elimination on the basis she was clearly the weakest member on the team. Abram thought it was unfair for Cara to be sent into the gulag again, since she already was sent into the elimination back in episode 2. He felt to keep the team strong, send in a strong player who has the best chances of winning and returning to the team. Abram wanted Laurel to go into the elimination. Laurel and Sarah thought that this was Abram showing favoritism to Cara Maria, as he wouldn't want to lose his bed buddy. And Abram confirms that that had a part in his decision making of not wanting Cara to go into an elimination.
Cara Maria is cute, and she's way more fun than the other girl. Of course, that plays into my decision, man.
Laurel would be the one voted into the elimination by her team, where she would win against Camilla in Die Hard. The gray team showed cracks, and this decision basically cemented them. They would be a team divided moving forward, but that wouldn't stop them from going on a 2 daily winning streak to finish off the regular part of the season heading into the finals. The gray team started out as the team of misfits, now was going into the finals with the most members and looking like the team to beat. Cara Maria had a huge comeback in her sophomore season compared to her first season. Once out first, now on her way to the finals. But the finals is where the gray team would be hit with the most adversity. While running the finals, both Abram and Sarah would start to slow down. Abram couldn't talk. He became sluggish and started to vomit. During the Cutthroat reunion, Luke mentioned that Abram didn't eat anything and didn't drink any water the morning of the finals, which led to his condition.
You lost when Abe forgot to drink and eat that morning.
Sarah would show the same side effects, where both Abram and Sarah would be pulled from the finals and taken to get medical help. This hurt the gray team's chances immensely, opening the door for the red team to go on to win the finals, where the gray team would come in 2nd place. Cara Maria had a pretty good season. I mean, yes, she made it much further compared to her previous season, but she showed different aspects of herself with her winning an elimination on the season. She was vulnerable finding love with fellow teammate Abram. She stuck up for herself, confronting her biggest critic up to that point, who was Laurel, and went the distance, getting 2nd place, all in her 2nd season. Cara Maria would be back for her 3rd season in Season 21, Rivals. As the season title suggests, players would be paired up with a rival to run the season with. Cara Maria would be paired up with none other than Laurel. I mean, Laurel and Cara had a rivalry dating back to the first few minutes of Fresh Meat 2's first episode, and since then have been in lockstep. Both Laurel and Cara were not well liked in the house. Laurel was seen as being abrasive, aggressive, and harsh, while Cara was looked at as annoying and bothersome to the whole house. Cara and Laurel's partnership wasn't smooth to start off the season.
Problem right now is Laurel. I'm not looking to be her best friend. I'm just looking for talk to me.
They got last place in episode 3, sending them directly into the elimination. Evelyn and Paula would in turn lobby for a strong team of Teresa and Camilla to be voted in against them, based on the math that 2 strong teams go into elimination where only 1 strong team comes back. Their campaigning worked, where we saw the 2 teams face off against each other in the door jam elimination, with Cara and Laurel winning. Now, it's not ideal to be seeing an elimination early in a challenge season, but I feel this helped get Cara and Laurel on track with each other.
I think this jungle was couples therapy.
As their teamwork and bond would get better with each passing episode. However, with Cara Maria, if she wasn't fighting with her partner, she was fighting with the rest of the house. Jen and Mandy would have their own annoyances with Cara Maria, especially with Cara making it known she found it frustrating that Jen and Mandy were never considered to be voted into an elimination.
You're just sitting pretty. Think that you earned a spot here? No.
Jen had a ton of friends in the game at that point, where her problems became everyone else's. Regularly, Tyler would come to Jen's defenses, as well as Wes, Paula, and even CT.
Don't kick your boyfriend's ass. Hashtag kick your boyfriend's a little pop.
If Abram was here,
I put him in my back pocket.
you, CT!
Cara would call her boyfriend Abe for guidance and motivation, which helped Cara to stick up for herself and stand her ground to the house.
DQ and got your stupid self in there yourself. You're just looking for an easy way to get rid of me. It's not gonna happen.
We'll just give you a couple more drinks and do it yourself.
Cara Maria and Laurel would win 1 daily challenge on the season and face off in 2 eliminations on their way to another finals appearance. The challenge would throw a few more curveballs to the competitors late in the game. Rivals marks the first destination finals in which the competitors would leave the location they had competed in the whole season and get on a plane to go to Argentina. In Argentina, Cara would get bullied some more, where one night Wes would dump a whole 2 liters of cola on Cara's head. No one but her partner Laurel came to her defenses. Just how far they came from just a season ago, once enemies forced together on the gray team, here now Laurel is the one ready to tear anyone's head off for messing with Cara. Or, Laurel would have been protecting Cara since Cara's performance directly affects how much money both women would make at the end of the season. No matter the reason, it was growth that both Laurel and Cara had mended whatever was in the way of their potential friendship, and now they had become allies. Cara even showed her own confidence and personal growth when she stood up for herself and called out Wes the day before the finals.
You want me to make you cry?
Try to make me cry, Wes.
Extremely immature.
You poured an entire bottle of cola all over me, and you're saying I'm immature.
Yes.
Perfect.
Once in the finals, it was clear Laurel and Cara were the second best team, as Jen and Mandy got disqualified before day 1 was even done. It became a 2-team race on the women's side, and despite Cara and Laurel keeping it close, Evelyn and Paula were just a force. Now, it needs to be mentioned that this was the first multi-day final in challenge history. Again, over the 2 days, Cara and Laurel fought hard, but ultimately came in second place, walking away with $50,000.
In the end, I came out with a great friend. I'm proud of us.
But that wasn't all Cara Maria was gaining at the end of the season. It felt Cara was ending the season with more self-assurance and more resilience than we had ever seen from her before. Cara Maria was growing in front of us, but still had quite a ways to go before becoming a challenge champion. Cara Maria and Abram had been in a pretty complicated relationship leading up to 2011, and after Rivals wrapped up, Cara Maria learned about Abram's arrest during his book tour. Cara said in an interview with iFelicious.com that challenge producers even hid letters from her written by Abram when he mentioned his arrest and everything surrounding it. Their relationship was a roller coaster, going from high highs to very low lows. Add in distance into the mix with everything I just mentioned, and Cara thought it was best for the two to split up at that time. But then again, MTV had different plans, bringing the two together for Battle of the Exes. This was such a weird season for Cara Maria because she ended on such a high note in Rivals, but in Battle of the Exes, one could see Cara was going through some inner turmoil that demolished all of that progress. This was the first season Abram and Cara were featured on together since Cutthroat, and how different this season was compared to how they were with each other back in season 20. Just 2 seasons prior, Abram was Cara's rock, her safe place. The house was against Cara, but Abram was there to have her back. In Exes, it was actually the opposite. Cara came off back-to-back finals appearances, but as Cara's challenge career was blossoming, Abe's was coming to a close. There isn't that big of an age gap between Abram and Cara, but the expectations and how players viewed the game when each had started on the challenge were vastly different. Abram made his challenge debut on the 7th season entitled The Gauntlet. He was viewed as a physically strong and very erratic player for the Road Rules team. He had a friendship and a mini rivalry with Mike the Miz, where when given the chance to face off against each other, Abram wanted to take his shot, and he lost to the Miz in the knock your block off elimination. I think it's important to note the differences of when both players started on the challenge because MTV, and really the world, was a much different environment for both. When Abram started on the show, it wasn't looked at as a viable career. It was more viewed as a vacation with a chance to compete and make some money at the same time. By the time Abram was on Battle of the Exes, he had been on 7 seasons, was a 4-time finalist, and a 2-time champ. We knew Abram had a business outside the challenge because on the island, he asked to be voted off to help save it. What I'm saying is Abram wanted to play the game straight up, and if somehow he lost in the elimination, so be it. There's more to life than this game. Cara Maria, on the other hand, was just finding her footing. She had been to 2 finals, got 2 second-place finishes, and she was becoming a reoccurring character. She had a lot of momentum on her side. I think one scene that depicts how these two were on such different pages is when the house is having a water fight. Cara in the moment is seen having a great time with everyone, while Abram is sitting by himself drawing. Then in another moment, Cara Maria looks reluctant to stay with Abram while everyone else is having a blast.
What you doing, Cara Maria?
Forget it.
Sorry, I'm listening.
Abram came into the season to get answers, a clear direction of his and Cara's relationship. Are we for real breaking up, or are we going to try to make things work? While Cara's intent for coming onto the season was to win. The challenge is already a stressful place, but adding relationship decisions and struggles makes things really difficult. You can tell there is an emotional war raging on within Cara Maria from episode to episode. She is either pushing Abram away, to then asking him to move in with her, to then the next day be unsure if that was the right decision. Both were frustrated going through this.
All of this, can we just let it go for right now?
No. What's holding you back?
I don't know.
This season should have been joyous, as this was a season Cara wasn't being thrown into eliminations early. Her and Abram weren't really on anyone's radar, and they were doing just enough in daily challenges that they weren't coming in last place. But that changed in episode 5, where halfway through the season, Cara and Abe did finish in last place, giving them a one-way ticket to the elimination. They would face off against the young, tough team of Emily and Ty. Cara and Abram would be out-muscled and go on to lose. Now, this season could be seen as a failure, but this season was actually really important in the growth of Cara Maria's challenge trajectory. In a podcast interview, Cara talked about this X-Battle elimination against Emily as a huge motivator to start working out, lifting, and doing CrossFit to work on her physicality.
The thing that really kicked my ass into gear was where this CrossFit girl, I had to wrestle a pole away from her. She basically just suplexed me like I was nothing. I'm like, she does CrossFit, maybe I should try that. Like, I started working out, I tried CrossFit, I started kickboxing, like I just got in better and better shape.
I talked about Cara's natural athleticism back in her first season, but now she was going to focus on her strength, knowing this could separate her from the pack. Cara would find herself in a tough spot coming into her 5th challenge season, Battle of the Seasons 2012. A season she wasn't originally supposed to compete in. Team Fresh Meat, made up of Cara Maria, Brandon, Big Easy, and Camilla, came into the game late. If you see Cara's jersey, you notice that there is tape with her name on it. It's rumored that instead of Team Fresh Meat, that Team Key West was going to compete on the show. Then when that fell through, Team Fresh Meat was formed. but Cara still wasn't originally cast for Team Fresh Meat.
I think I actually got cast for one of them, and they made me jerseys and everything. I don't even remember what it was.
I heard it was Battle of the Seasons because it was a Fresh Meat team, right? And then Cara Maria had your jersey on.
Yeah, that's what I heard. They had to put like a bumper sticker on it or something. I was ready to go, and they just ended up last minute. Maybe Cara wasn't able to go at first, and then last minute they just switched it. So I'm guessing that's what happened.
That ultimately didn't happen, where Cara was now on the squad. A Fresh Meat squad that didn't resemble a team at all. They stunk at daily challenges. Their communication was atrocious. They constantly fought with each other. Team Fresh Meat was a mess. On top of their poor performances, a rookie uprising was happening where the overwhelming rookie cast members wanted to take out all the vets as soon as possible. If Team Fresh Meat wasn't coming in last place to be sent directly into eliminations, they were being sent in by the powered teams. Both Team Fresh Meat and Team Austin had the most vet numbers of any team on the season, and they were on the top of everyone's hit list. In episode 1, Cara Maria and Big Easy found themselves in the first hall brawl in challenge history, going up against Wes and Lacey from Team Austin. Cara and Big Easy took care of business. Cara used this elimination to prove to everyone that she came into the game to win and to show off the progress she made working out outside the game. Also, she helped take out the guy that was so against her in past seasons. That had to feel good. That good feeling wouldn't last long on the season, not with this Fresh Meat team. In episode 2, Fresh Meat didn't get last place, which is a step in the right direction, but they would be thrown in by the powered team of Team San Diego. There was no trust on Team Fresh Meat, and no one wanted to go in. Cara and Big Easy had just seen an elimination, but with Brandon's past challenge season history in Cutthroat and early exits in his other 2 seasons, he didn't want to take the risk of seeing an elimination. And Camilla didn't want to go in, worried to leave the season as an early boot after winning in Exes. Team Fresh Meat couldn't come up with nominees from their team by the time they reached the arena, where Team San Diego got to pick who were to face off against Danny and Melinda. They chose Camilla and Eric, who would win, completely wiping out Team Austin from the game. Team Fresh Meat was back to their losing ways in episode 3, getting last place in the hook, line, and sinker daily challenge. And again, they couldn't come up with who to nominate from their team, leaving the decision to Team Las Vegas. Cara and Brandon were picked to go against Chet and Sarah in the first ever not so fast elimination in challenge history, where Cara and Brandon would end up losing. It was a disappointing end, but it was also probably the best, as it wouldn't have gotten any better for Cara and Team Fresh Meat on the season.
Fresh Meat's now Eric and Camilla. Cara, how do you think they're going to perform now?
Cara would finally get a season off as the challenge was premiering its 24th season, Rivals 2. Or so we thought. In episode 1, Naomi from the Real World Las Vegas 2011 got a phone call from back home letting her know that her father was in the hospital after he had a heart failure. Naomi would withdraw from the game, leaving Heather Cook without a partner. That is until TJ had something up his sleeve. Or should I say someone? And I'm talking about Cara Maria. Cara Maria would join the season right before the Triple X Games. During her walk-up, she didn't get the warmest of welcomes from the cast.
This just blows.
She is the stupidest creature on Earth. Cara Maria. Womp, womp, womp.
We learned that Cara Maria and Heather Cook were rivals because of a few exchanges on Twitter, which honestly is par for the course when it comes to some of the pairs on Rivals 2. Despite their Twitter beef, Cara and Cook were an incredible duo, where their only weakness was Cara's swimming.
Cara, stop panicking.
Cara Maria entered the game in episode 2 and would see an elimination game the very same episode to play hanging by a thread versus Anastasia and Jessica. Cara and Cook would win, but that would be the first of many trips to the jungle for them. The duo was voted in again in episode 4, but wouldn't have to compete thanks to Trishelle quitting in the previous episode. They would then get last place in episode 8 and win against Nani and Janae. And finally, they'd come up with a clutch win in color correction, saving them from the last elimination of the season. If Cara and Cook hadn't won, they were for sure going to be sent in again. That's right, Cara had found herself back to the finals. She hadn't been back to the final since the last Rivals back in 2011. And just like the first Rival season, Cara was going to have to run against Paula, who was tethered to another extremely strong partner. Paula and Emily were a juggernaut on Rivals 2. They won 6 daily challenges on the season, never saw a single elimination, and basically waltzed into the finals. One of the most dominating pair performances in a single season. But their dominance would be tested as Cara Maria and Cook took an early lead in the Rivals 2 finals. Paula and Emily would work their tails off to get a lead in the finals and not give it up.
If we lose based on my life.
Paula and Emily would go on to win Rivals 2. Cara and Cook would lock in second place. One could be frustrated with yet another second place finish. It was Cara's third in 6 seasons, but Cara was happy with her and Cook's performance. It was great to have had a chance to play in the finals after 2 early exits in the past 2 seasons. Also, Cara Maria showed us more on the season in terms of her physicality and working out. She brought in more self-confidence and it helped her perform, especially in eliminations. Free Agents is looked at as one of, if not the best season in the challenge's history, and is the biggest turning point in Cara Maria's challenge journey as well. Cara Maria came in with the most friends she's ever had coming onto a season at the time, the 2 biggest notables being CT and Laurel. Now, the format of the season was individual gameplay, with the daily challenges varying whether they would be played as individuals, pairs, or teams. Cara Maria was looked at as an asset, well insulated and physically strong. Cara Maria seemed to be in a good position in the game. That is, except for how eliminations were designed this season. The format to decide who would go into eliminations was that the winning players would decide 2 people to send directly into elimination, and whoever didn't perform as well in the dailies would take place in the draw. One by one, players would be called to flip over a piece of wood on a board. If the wood was blank, the player would be safe, but flip over a skull, known as the kill card, and you were playing in the elimination game that episode. Cara Maria found herself in 5 draws this season, where she'd flip over the kill card 3 times. This season, Cara showed everyone her fight, her will, and her drive to win. Cara Maria's first 2 instances in the draw yielded no elimination game. However, in episode 3, Cara would be put to the test against Naya. Naya was taller, bigger, and very athletic. Cara had been training and is a veteran in the game compared to the rookie, but it's hard not to see the size difference where it was a David versus Goliath battle. They would play the elimination game called Looper, where both players would be tethered together but have to run in opposite directions to ring a bell on their side of the elimination floor. First to ring their bell wins. Despite a significant height and weight difference, Cara dug in her heels and went for broke. Both competitors went over an hour, making it a stalemate for the majority of the game. Cara Maria would moan in pain from time to time. Naya at a certain point said she couldn't breathe because of her harness. Still no woman would give up. Cara would chip away, digging for every inch until she was the one to ring the bell and get the victory. After that episode, the challenge producers would change the way the game was played, giving players rope at the bottom of each person's bell so as to not have every looper elimination go over an hour. There were no bricks for Cara as she found herself in the next draw the next episode. She drew the kill card for a second time. This elimination was a bit easier for her as she faced off against LaToya in the Oppenheimer, a Hall Brawl variance that Cara got the win with ease. The next 4 episodes, Cara got a breather from seeing an elimination or a draw. From episodes 5 to 8, Cara was on the winning teams for 2 of those episodes and did well enough in the other 2 that she didn't participate in the draws or was voted in by the power couples.
What is Muhammad Ali's real name?
Mahatma Gandhi?
But over the course of the season, Cara Maria did lose something, and that was her friendship with Laurel. As I mentioned earlier, Cara and Laurel came into the season closer than they had ever been previously. It looked like the duo was going to take on the house and possibly get to the finals together. However, in the challenge house, not everything goes as planned. Laurel, with her intimidation factor, would have people want to be on her good side in case she did win. They wouldn't want to be her target. Laurel talked with so many people and she had deals with a lot of the house. During a talk about the game, Cara and Laurel had quite the misunderstanding. This was the first time for us as the audience to see a crack form between the two.
You don't get it. You don't understand. You're annoying. Don't speak.
Later on in the episode, we'd hear from Johnny Riley that Laurel would regularly speak rudely to Cara. By that time, Cara just had enough. She was done being talked to and treated like she had been by a so-called friend. As the two drifted apart, Laurel started a friendship with Jessica. Laurel and Jessica bonded over both their challenge flings, leaving the game early in the season. Watching a friend distance themselves from you and get closer with someone else is tough, but what was even tougher is sharing a room with that friend and your replacement. Jump to episode 9, where Cara Maria and Jessica would be paired up together in the Dug Out Daily Challenge. I mean, how perfect is that? After not winning the daily, Cara Maria would find herself in the draw flipping over the kill card for a third time that season. She would face off against Laurel's new best friend, Jessica, in a heated balls-in elimination. Again, how perfect is that? Cara would win, but it came at a cost. During one of the rounds, Cara Maria had hurt her hand. We can see her try to shake out her hand at one point after a round. Once the elimination was over and her adrenaline stopped pumping, Cara Maria's hand was really starting to hurt. She went to go get it checked out, where the medic told her that she needed to go to the hospital because she had possibly broken her wrist. Cara Maria started to cry, but not from the pain. She started to cry because she was worried about the diagnosis she'd get at the hospital, where it could lead to a medical disqualification. This was a tough season for Cara, but she didn't want to go. She'd rather be eliminated than be taken out due to an injury. The next day, Cara Maria came back to the house with her arm wrapped in her jacket to hide her cast. Cara Maria had given all she could, fought tooth and nail to get this deep into the season to be now pushed to a possible breaking point. Literally. Normally, any injury on the challenge, especially a broken appendage, is deemed a medical disqualification, but the challenge allowed Cara Maria to come back and continue to compete. Cara Maria was never going to give up, and her closest friend left in the game, CT, wasn't going to let her quit. In the crossover daily challenge, Cara Maria was a captain, and she was hesitant to pick CT. However, when it was her turn to pick, CT wanted to be paired up with Cara, cast and all. I feel like CT would have wanted to be paired up with Cara even if she had 2 casts on her arms. That's how much he believed in Cara Maria. They had the Boston connection, and he knew she wouldn't give up on him. And really, Cara was super impressive, giving another 110% in a daily challenge. She did everything in the challenge asked of her, and did it as good, if not better, than some of the competitors with 2 working hands. But unfortunately, Cara Maria and CT didn't win to keep themselves safe. Bananas and Nany went on to win, putting them in the power seat, which spelled bad news for both Cara Maria and CT. It was a relatively straightforward vote to send CT into elimination. On the other hand, voting in Cara Maria was a bit more of a split decision. Nany didn't want to vote for Cara. Nany felt bad for her with how hard she had fought on the season and now having a cast. But Bananas insisted that Cara Maria was the right vote. Eventually, Nany agreed. Both Cara Maria and CT were voted into the elimination. And again, some things just work out too perfectly, where Laurel flipped the kill card and the 2 ex-best friends would face off against each other, barring one from making it much closer to the finals. So sad for Cara though, as it looked like the deck was stacked against her. Not just because she was facing off against the most athletic woman left in the game, but she also was going into the Wrecking Wall elimination. In the Wrecking Wall elimination, both competitors would have to climb a wall, breaking handholds and footholds for them to use to get up the wall and ring a bell. Laurel had a height and wingspan advantage, as well as 2 working hands. Cara Maria would give it her all and never quit, just like she had all season. The only time she stopped was when TJ announced Laurel was the winner of the elimination. Cara Maria exited the season defeated. Probably the most disappointing exit up to that point for her in her challenge career.
Did my best. I got nothing to be upset about. Just gotta train harder, be stronger, and come back better.
But honestly, Cara had every reason to be proud of her performance in Free Agents. This was a culmination of all of Cara's seasons, which led to an incredible performance. Cara showed determination, skill, athleticism, heart, willpower, confidence. The only thing she didn't have on her side this season was luck. But even without winning this season, Cara won something else that was probably more important: reputation. Many Cara Maria fans, or even challenge fans who wouldn't necessarily identify themselves as Cara fans, would cite her performance in Free Agents as otherworldly. She made people notice her in a way that gave her self-credibility. No more doubts, no more second-guessing her abilities. She was on the precipice of doing something and being someone great, being more than just Cara Maria, the underdog. Cara Maria would not participate in Season 26 Battle of the Exes 2, but would return for...
Hi,
I'm Cara Maria, and this is my cousin, Jamie.
Anywhere you say, anywhere.
Late in 2015, the challenge premiered its 27th season called Battle of the Bloodlines. This is a season where contestants from the challenge or other MTV reality TV properties would bring on family members to compete with on the season. Or so they thought. Cara Maria brought her cousin Jamie, a corrections officer, to compete alongside her. Having a big, brooding partner whom she can trust 100% would be a big asset to Cara. Something noticeably different about Cara Maria was her physique. A side-by-side of how she looked in Free Agents just a year prior to how she looked in Bloodlines. I mean, she made the most of her time off from the show. No doubt, Cara and cousin Jamie were a team to be feared when it came to strength. However, Cara Maria would have much more to overcome on the season than just the competition or challenges. But before we can get to any of that, out the gate, Cara used strategy to stake a claim in the game. In the first daily challenge, Water Battle, teams would take part in trying to fill their team bucket with the most water before time ran out. There were 2 heats, men and women. Because of how the teams were structured, of either having 2 men, 2 women, or a man and a woman, the volume of water gathered for each team could drastically change between the heats. The women's heat was first, and Christina with her stepsister Emily were in the lead heading into the men's heat. They were quickly passed by Bananas and his cousin Vince, who were much quicker at filling their buckets. They went from 0 to first in a blink of an eye. They were for sure going to get the win until Cara Maria came up with a plan. To stop Bananas from getting the win, Cara and Kellyanne got their partners along with a few others to abandon their solo endeavors to try and help Kahutta and Jill win. Now before we go any further, I want to address a rivalry that I felt I didn't have to bring up until now. And the rivalry is the one between Bananas and Cara Maria. It's tough trying to pinpoint exactly when this rivalry started, as even multiple articles on the challenge subreddit have questioned the rivalry's origin. Nothing out of the ordinary stands out when watching the course of Cara's early seasons. One would think if Cara had such problems with Wes and even CT in her early goings, her and Bananas could have had an enemy of my enemy is my friend type of friendship. But watching back in Cutthroat, Rivals, and Battle of the Exes, the first 3 seasons Cara and Bananas were on together, there was little evidence of any heat or hate. If anything, there seemed to be respect and understanding between the two. In Rivals, we even see Bananas consoling Cara after an instance with the house ganging up on her.
Listen, position to be in, I really do feel free, but at the same time, it's just like a fun house we're living in right now, okay? Part of Abe's army, okay?
A rumor of how this rivalry started comes actually from a Battle of the Exes after show episode. In a clip, Paula, Ty, Leroy, and Cara are having a conversation about Johnny and Camilla's relationship. Out of nowhere, Cara asked,
Camilla has deep feelings for Johnny.
Did he take her virginity?
Whoa.
Was I not supposed to say that?
Throw everybody under the bus.
She is on fire today.
Which instantly changed the vibe. Rumor has it that Johnny had a girlfriend at the time this after show episode was released, which put pressure on said relationship.
I like to keep my challenge life and my personal life separate. She did some things years ago that affected my personal life outside of the show. Never fully forgave her for.
Now it's hard to know for certain if this was the catalyst that spurred on the rivalry without any definitive say between the two parties, but the narrative could fit the timeline when both players went from cordial to enemies. Nothing much would be seen in Rivals 2 as Bananas had his hands full with CT and Wes paired up together. But Free Agents is when we saw some animosity start to spark up between Cara and Bananas. In the first daily challenge out on a ledge, Bananas would put Cara Maria in a chokehold to help slow down her team.
You don't need to put a girl in a chokehold, Johnny.
Then in the looper elimination between Cara Maria and Naya, Bananas was rooting for Naya to win. But he wasn't just rooting against Cara. Bananas also took time to heckle Cara Maria.
She's dead, Naya. She's literally dead in the sand.
She's totally gassed, Naya.
She said in a confessional that Bananas took personal jabs at her, which helped fuel her to get the win. Cara Maria would take her own shot at Bananas in episode 5, with helping to vote him into elimination. However, Bananas would get the last laugh when he strong-armed Nani to vote for Cara when she really didn't want to. That led to Cara Maria's exit on the season, keeping the feud alive and well. Jump back to season 27 and the flames of the Cara Bananas rivalry were at their hottest, and the heat could be felt in the first episode with Cara's plan to block Bananas from winning the first daily challenge. A power he would have certainly used to send Cara into the first elimination of the season. Cara's plan worked out. Cohutta and Jill won. They sent Christina and Emily into the first elimination against Jenna and Brianna. Cara Maria was able to evade elimination for now. Episode 2 is when things got interesting. Cara and cousin Jamie won the next daily challenge, Family Dinner. Cara Maria wanted to help Cohutta, giving him who he wanted in the elimination to give him the best odds of winning. It's important to note that Cara Maria at this time had struck up some flirtation relationship with Thomas. This new affection played a factor in their conversation with Cohutta and Jill. Cara and cousin Jamie talked up Dario and Raffi as good options, and it seemed as though Cohutta was on board. However, when Dario and Raffi didn't take the news of being sent into elimination well, Cara went to talk with Cohutta, who said he would rather go against Thomas or Steven instead. Cara Maria was frustrated having to change the plans and make teams angry at her, but her and cousin Jamie made the switch, quickly smoothing over everything in the house. Thomas said he understood, and the twins were happy not to be sent in. The person who wasn't good by the end of this episode was Cohutta, who lost the elimination, sending him and his partner Jill home early. But little did everyone know that this is when the season would actually start. TJ asked Cara Maria and cousin Jamie to join him on the pit floor. There was going to be a new twist to the season, as all the pairs would be split into 2 teams. Family against family. This would test if blood is really thicker than water. Cara Maria was up first and chose Johnny Bananas.
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer, so Bananas.
Not only was Cara getting a 5-time champ on her team, but choosing Bananas meant Vince, Bananas' cousin, would be on Jamie's team. The rest of the contestants were picked, the game was shaken up, and no other changes were in sight. Moving on to the first daily challenge as 2 giant teams, everyone played Meet Me Halfway. A daily challenge having team members jump from platform to platform, transferring flags while being high above the water. This challenge was difficult as players suffered injuries and had rough wipeouts. One victim of a vicious hit was Tony. He hit the edge of the platform and fell hard into the water. Tony was checked out by medics on site but came back to the challenge house. However, Tony's health seemed to worsen as the day went on. By the time players were making their way to the elimination, Tony had fainted. An ambulance was called to rush Tony to a nearby hospital. Later that night, production came to get Shane, Tony's brother, so he could be with Tony at the hospital. It wouldn't be until the next daily challenge, TJ announced that Tony and Shane were disqualified from the season, and with their premature exit, this forced producers to reach out for a replacement pair to take their place. The replacements were none other than Abram and his brother Mike. Normally, bringing in a significant other on the show would be beneficial for one's game, as that's someone in your corner, an extra number on your side. But Abram showing up really threw a wrench into Cara's game. As mentioned earlier, Cara Maria was having a fling with Thomas. Thomas and Cara were caught snuggling up in the back of the bus on one beach outing by the banana cam. This was going to be really tough to explain to Abram, Cara's current boyfriend at the time, who is now in the game and on her team. Everything was relatively fine for a bit, but once Bananas was sort of on the ropes game-wise, this is when he and his cousin, Vince, needed to cause dissension on Cara's side of the house. Bananas was winning dailies with his red squad, but losing alliance members each week. The first elimination as teams, Bananas saw Camilla exit the game, and then in episode 6, Nani made her exit. Now Bananas is at fault for Nani's departure, as there was a rumor from the previous season that Bananas and Nani had hooked up in the Battle of the Exes 2 Redemption House. Bananas was in a committed relationship at the time, and that rumor took a toll on said relationship, and it bled into this season. Bananas kept his distance from Nani so nothing could be misconstrued via the edit. He didn't stick up for Nani. She went in to face Kellyanne, who went on to win the Ring My Bell elimination. With his numbers dwindling and Cara's numbers thriving, desperate times call for desperate measures. Bananas and his cousin Vince decided to tell Abram about Cara and Thomas's relationship. Abram took this information with a grain of salt given the source, but he did go straight to Cara Maria to ask what was going on between her and Thomas before his arrival. Cara tried to downplay everything, chalking up her friendship with Thomas as hanging out and the occasional back rub.
What would have been that line?
Massages and egg sandwiches.
Abram would try to reassure that he trusts Cara, but would also hold a house meeting on the bus to call out Steven and Thomas, leading to Cara Maria and cousin Jamie getting involved, as well as Bananas.
She made no promises.
You hear that, Cara Maria and Jamie? The twins have made no promises to you.
One question though, where did all this stirring stem from?
Cara making promises.
Find out 6 months from now?
Find out what, dude?
What? Find out what?
This big blow-up came to a head with a Mike versus Steven elimination battle. Abram went psycho mode with his brother Mike feeding off of his energy.
Just rip that apart!
Mike won in the Homewrecker elimination, a fitting name looking back on it, but even Mike being crowned the victor and Abram getting to stay in the game, Cara Maria was the one who was very upset, as we can see in a surveillance footage of her talking to cousin Jamie about her relationship with Abram. Cara Maria had hit her breaking point with Abram. By episode 9, the blue team lost again, and they voted in Mike to the pit. The game had come to a point where it was either going to be cousin Jamie or Vince to face off against Mike. Cara pushed hard for Vince, while Bananas went on the offense to push Jamie's name, stating that Cara was a huge threat left in the game, especially for all the women. The vote was a clean sweep for Jamie to go in against Mike. If that wasn't already going to be a tough elimination matchup, TJ pulled out 2 heavy hitters of CT and Zach to face off against the men. A coin flip decided that Mike would face Zach, while Jamie would go against CT in the handed over elimination. A sort of tug of war with pipes through walls. The players that can wrestle more pipes away from their heavy hitter or hold on the longest would win the elimination. There's a rumor that Abram and Mike came into the elimination ready to lay down for Cara and cousin Jamie, but the edit didn't show a hint of that, and I couldn't find anything to support that claim. Now, like we talked about with Cara on Free Agents, sometimes you need luck in your favor to help you get past a tough spot in the game. Some could see some luck with Jamie facing off against Mike, as well as getting the coin flip to go against CT, one of Cara's good friends. Not saying that anyone took it easy on Cara or cousin Jamie, I'm just saying it could have been way tougher for them going into the pit this late in the game. Jamie won, Abram and his brother Mike were eliminated. We wouldn't see Abram until the Bloodlines reunion, when we find out that Cara and him had officially broken up. Cara even apologizes for lying to him and downplaying what happened in the house.
I didn't probably apologize, for not having your back, for lying to you in the house. Instead of mixed messages, I should have broken up with you before I went on the show. Having it have to come from Johnny's mouth instead of my own mouth is totally wrong, so I'm sorry.
I think this is the right point to bring up the moment we saw between cousin Jamie and Cara that one night. The night she called her relationship with Abram unhealthy. After season 27, Cara would go on to do interviews, multiple interviews, describing her relationship with Abram as abusive.
The shit that I went through in this relationship is not okay. There is not one thing that is okay, and it happened leading up to, before the whole Thomas incident on Bloodlines. A lot of shit that was not okay, and then it got worse after he was able to hold that over my head. And not only that, but then, comes the rebound guy, and then, he got physical with me and on the show.
Now, if you've seen Abram on his Road Rule season, you know he was disqualified for violence against other players. Abram on the challenge has shown a soft side, but at times would get loud and angry. On an after show, Cara, Abe, and Thomas were to appear on an episode together. A clip from that episode shows Abram getting loud in front of security. We learn from Abram that he was being dragged away by security after trying to talk to Tom in his dressing room to, quote, air out grievances.
I will do this all day long!
How are you named?
Something new every day.
Rachel, Abram's former wife, posted on Instagram about her split with the former challenge contestant, citing that she was in an emotionally abusive relationship that sometimes got physical.
With my former relationship, his wife coming out, I was honestly hey, maybe it was me. Maybe we just were bad for each other. And it's when she came out with glimpses of her story, I was like, that's it. I'm not, not only did I have therapists tell me what happened to me was wrong and I was not the bad guy, but now I have her coming out validating my experiences.
Unlike what we saw in season 22, this was the end of Abram and Cara Maria's relationship. This chapter had come to a close. After the handed over elimination, the game went back to pairs. Everyone was teamed back up with their original partners. In episode 10, Corey and Mitch won into power. Cara and cousin Jamie got last place, sending them directly into the elimination. With Cara and cousin Jamie set to go into the elimination, Mitch and Corey decided to make a power move by voting in Bananas and his cousin Vince into the elimination against them. barring one of the pairs from making the trip to Berlin and getting that much closer to the finals. This felt like a natural progression for these two to face off against each other. Everything on the season built up to this elimination matchup. In the through thick and thin elimination, the pairs would have to bust through a brick wall and complete a puzzle. First pair to complete the puzzle wins. The elimination came down to Cara Maria and Johnny Bananas on the puzzle. Both had not been known as puzzle masters back then, and neither would get better at puzzles throughout their careers. But it was Cara Maria who would take the win over her foe. And what we saw from Cara Maria was exuberance and joy. From Bananas, we saw good sportsmanship and respect, but Cara wasn't in the finals just yet. In episode 11, Corey set a challenge record, winning his 8th daily challenge in a row, getting a trip to the finals. Anissa and Rihanna were going directly into the final elimination. Corey and Mitch were put on the spot after their win. They had to name a team to send into the elimination, and their choice was Cara Maria and cousin Jamie. Anissa had her frustrations building over the season. After things with Corey went cold, Anissa was annoyed with her cousin, and now having to go into an elimination so close to the finals was not very fun. Especially when Anissa had a knack for making it far on seasons, then being eliminated close or right before the finals. These frustrations spilled out on Cara when Anissa made fun of Cara's Boston accent.
I know it, cousin? Can I know it? Ooh, when I get pissed off, cousin. Shut up, Anissa! That's it! Off!
Probably wasn't the best idea to pick a fight with someone you're gonna be facing the next day in an elimination. Mine Not Yours was a pole wrestle variance that was very heated. Both women knew that this was it. It's either now or never. Their final dreams were on the line, and there wasn't anything they wouldn't do to win, whether it took a knee or an elbow. Cara Maria would win 2 rounds to nothing, winning their way into the finals, while Anissa and Rihanna got a one-way ticket home. Cara Maria had done it. She made it to the finals in one of the strangest, toughest challenge seasons she's ever participated in. And what stood in her way was an arduous race against 2 very impressive young duos. The finals were grueling. It was a roller coaster of emotions between all stages. Surprisingly, Jenna and Brianna were in first place after the first leg. Cara and cousin Jamie would finish the first leg in second, but Cara's worst nightmare would come up next, and that was the eating portion. However, this was the golden opportunity to make up time, as cousin Jamie was like a human garbage disposal. The other 2 teams got hit with time penalties. One could assume Cara and Jamie were close to being in first if they weren't already. After a night in an abandoned train station and a paddle down a river, the final stretch came down to a number puzzle and 8 laps around a track. Cara Maria and cousin Jamie were either in first place or close behind in second place in every stage of the finals. They were consistently up at the top the whole time, which left no surprise when TJ announced they had won.
Cara Maria and Jamie.
I don't think words could describe the feeling Cara Maria had in that moment after the season she went through. Given the personal and game struggles, Cara overcame so much to be crowned a challenge champion. She broke a cycle of being in an unhealthy relationship. She took down her biggest rival. She overcame the doubts and criticisms of the past, saying she wouldn't get to this moment. Well, here she was, finally a challenge champion. But this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Cara Maria would skip the next season, Rivals 3, but would be back for the 29th season, Invasion of the Champions. Cara Maria was part of the twist where about a third of the way through the season, 8 challenge champions would enter the game to face off against mostly young and up-and-coming competitors. Cara Maria came into the game alongside Johnny Bananas, Laurel, CT, Laurel, Camilla, Zach, and Ashley K. Cara Maria was not only physically strong, but also socially strong. She had a good standing relationship with all her champion teammates, except for maybe Johnny Bananas. I wanted to point this out because, as I mentioned, Laurel was on the season, her first return since her win on Free Agents. Last time we saw Cara and Laurel on the challenge, they weren't on the best of terms, but that was years ago, and on 29, the edits seemed to show that they were on cordial terms. I mean, it would suck if anything or anyone would get in the way of them being friendly. Enter Nicole Z, a rookie from the Real World Skeletons. Nicole has a bit of a reputation for being a player, and in her debut season, she had an affection for strong women, aka Cara Maria and Laurel. More specifically, Nicole expressed more interest in Cara Maria than Laurel. However, Cara didn't reciprocate those same feelings for Nicole. On the other hand, Laurel did have feelings for Nicole. Now on the reunion, Cara admits to flirting with Nicole, which could have given off the wrong impressions or at least mixed signals. Laurel was the second choice and felt like she was being played with. Let's stick a pin in this for now, as we'll get to the reunion in a few. Season 29 is an interesting season in the sense that it was formatted for champions versus underdogs in the daily challenges, but when it came to elimination days, they'd flex between champion days to underdog days. In episode 7, it was champions elimination day. Bananas had somehow weaseled his way to getting a second run at the daily, helping him win into power alongside Laurel. When it came to power on the season and in this episode, Laurel would get the sole vote to send in any man from the champion squad, excluding Bananas of course, directly into elimination, and vice versa. Bananas had the sole vote to send in any woman into elimination, excluding Laurel. Bananas would take the opportunity to vote in Cara Maria. Luckily, Cara faced off against Angelcake in a pole wrestle and won somewhat easily. The next Champions Day, the two best performing champions would be safe, while the other four would have to face off against each other. Now, unfortunately for Cara Maria, she would be going up against Laurel in the balls in elimination.
He's basically just wrapping Cara Maria up inside the ring.
This led to Cara Maria's exit, and she was going to be sharing a plane ride home with Bananas. Cara looked frustrated to leave. In the confessionals, Laurel worried she agitated Cara by being too rough with her in the elimination. But in Cara's confessionals, she said she wasn't upset losing to Laurel. She was just frustrated to leave in general. This is where we'll travel back to that pesky love triangle that Nicole, Cara, and Laurel found themselves in. With Cara gone, Nicole and Laurel hung out more in the house. This bonding time morphed into a full-fledged relationship outside the game. Now jumping to the reunion, The Miz asked the three about everything that transpired during the season and where does everyone sit with each other now that the dust had settled. Nicole and Laurel had been dating for over 5 months at the time. Cara expressed happiness for the couple, but also mentioned that Laurel had distanced herself. Laurel had blocked Cara's number on her own phone and Nicole's phone.
I know, you blocked my number from Nicole's phone. She told me.
Why did you block her number from Nicole's phone?
Because I don't want her talking to Cara either.
Cara felt hurt that Laurel put so much space between them. Something I felt that really bothered Laurel was Cara Maria sliding into Nicole's DMs. Cara mentioned that she only did it because Laurel wasn't communicating with her, so she was trying to get information on the couple.
Who slipped into my DM first? Oh, I did.
believe that was you.
I slipped in because I was trying to find out what was going on.
Good answer.
Given the prior history of the love triangle and how smitten Nicole was for Cara during the season, I felt that this was a very big point of contention for Laurel. It also feels like Cara was contradicting herself at the reunion, stating she had no idea Laurel and Nicole liked each other in the challenge house, but then was messaging Nicole to check in on the couple because she knew they were a couple?
And I didn't know. You say you didn't know, but everyone knew that there was something going on, so how did you not know? I already knew what was going on, so I definitely did. This is what I'm talking about.
She could have heard this through the gossip from other players, but this brings up something Laurel said during an interview on Johnny Bananas' podcast. Laurel hated Cara portraying herself as vapid and the I don't know kind of girl. Laurel says that Cara Maria is not dumb. She is extremely smart.
Playing this role of vapid, I don't know girl, but that's not who she is. She's actually really fucking smart. So I didn't like that either. What? Blah. It was just it was really frustrating to me.
So for Cara to say she had no idea Laurel and Nicole liked each other in the house does seem preposterous. Especially taking into account Cara and Laurel having a conversation about Nicole in episode 9. I think this is a good time to talk about the total disintegration of Cara Maria and Laurel's friendship. During the Invasion of the Champions reunion, Cara and Laurel seem to be in a worse place than ever before. I want to focus on 3 Laurel interviews, 2 from Reality Steve's podcast, and 1 with Bananas on his podcast. During an interview with Bananas, Laurel made the claim that the friendship with Cara Maria was forced by production, giving the sense that this friendship was doomed from the beginning. It wasn't made to last, it was a television arc.
Is there some sort of falling out, a blow up you guys had?
Well, I think this is a whole
like the whole aspect of television production as well. Like the words best friend never came out of my mouth. That was a thing that they were trying to push as a storyline for a long time.
Laurel said that Cara Maria was easily influenced by other people and production. Laurel felt that Cara Maria used their personal relationship as a storyline on Free Agents.
But then I remember going on Free Agents, and it was the first time that Cara finally was like, I'm going to stand up for myself, and I'm not going to let her talk to me like that anymore. And I almost felt like that was like her season of like coming into her own.
I didn't like the fact that she, instead of coming and talking to me personally, she decided to make a television show of our personal relationship.
Yep.
I don't appreciate that at all, and I would never do that to somebody that I called a friend.
Laurel would go on to say that communication is key. And with Cara Maria not voicing how she felt directly to her and listening to other people about how mean Laurel was, made Laurel feel that Cara Maria was fake.
You know who I am. Why are you buying into that? And so that bothered me a lot, because if you know me on a personal level and you're going to tell me that I'm mean when I've been there to support you, when I've been there through some of your toughest times, that is skewed to me. That means she's caught up in the reality television. She does not have a good grasp on reality, and I can't get on with that.
I'm like, why are you just so nasty? Like, what is your problem with me? Like, whenever I develop any sort of confidence or find any sort of my own, she tries to crap on me. Fast forward, what other season did we go together? We were not friends. Our friendship ended when I finally stomped the life out of it before we knew Nicole even existed. We go into Invasion of the Champions not friends due to something that happened outside of the show, due to the way that she was talking to me and treating to me, and I was over it.
In a 2018 Reality Steve interview, Laurel mentioned that her last straw with Cara Maria came after Invasion of the Champions.
But yeah, she's tried to contact me, and after Invasion, that was the last straw for me, because I had told her, I'm interested in Nicole, can you back off a little bit? And she said, I'm not interested in Nicole at all, so yeah, I'll back off. But then when the camera came in the room, she was flirting with Nicole.
I mentioned Cara DMing Nicole after the season, which made Laurel mad, but I think more context is needed. Laurel has said that this was her first ever relationship with a woman. I'm sure she felt feelings she hadn't felt in a long time, or if at all, and Laurel was wanting to keep her new relationship as she had really strong feelings for Nicole. Laurel was very vulnerable on the podcast episode, opening up about a very traumatic time in her life she rarely told anyone.
I would tell Nicole that I feel like my relationship with her healed some things in me that were very deeply wounded from a certain experience. I came back from studying abroad in Spain, so I think it had to have been when I was 21 or 22. And I went to a party at my friend's house. We were all drinking, and I got too drunk, and so there was like a bedroom downstairs, and I went downstairs and went to sleep. I woke up that night with a guy on top of me. That was my first experience having sex, and I feel like it with me for a very long time, because I immediately started bawling. That night was when I shut down, and I became inaccessible in a lot of ways. And so my relationship with Nicole, to kind of go back to what I was talking about in terms of healing, Nicole was really great to me. She was very concerned about what I needed, my comfort level, and it had been a really long time since I had been in a relationship with somebody who had taken that amount of care.
Laurel says that her relationship with Nicole was healing for her. She felt so much love with Nicole, who was there for her. So for Laurel, her relationship with Nicole was something very special. Ultimately, the relationship could not last. After 9 months, Laurel broke up with Nicole, stating that distance and trust issues were just too much to overcome. In August of 2017, Nicole uploaded an Instagram post signifying the end of her and Laurel's relationship. Then in September 2017, Nicole departed to go film for the challenge Vendettas. During the season, Cara Maria and Nicole kiss. Given the significance of Nicole and Laurel's past relationship and how soon the kiss took place after their breakup, this was the torch that burned the bridge between the two champions. Laurel stated that Cara did email her an apology, but it was an apology laced with finger-pointing about others and their hookup preferences in a way to almost justify Cara's actions, despite knowing how Laurel would feel about her in particular kissing Nicole.
Because you're emailing me apologizing for making out with my ex-girlfriend on national television when that was a really huge point of contention for a long ass time. And that's the one thing that you could have not done in respect to me. And you did it. And now you're apologizing and you're saying, but Nani did this, and Nani sleeps with people and Jenna hooks up with people, and it's not a big, it's like, why are you talking about Nani and Jenna in your apology email to me when you should have just said, Laurel, I'm genuinely sorry this happened. Please, I hope you can forgive me. And it might have taken me time, but I have the ability to forgive people. And so that just made me angry.
Immediately when I got off of this season of Vendettas, I sent her an email. Because, you saw the previews of me kissing Nicole out of a bar, and out of respect to our past, I reached out to her even though we hadn't even talked. Coming since Invasion, I messaged her and I was like, look, out of respect to what we had in the past, I'm sorry, there was no intent to hurt you. This was just, a drunken lapse in judgment. There's no feelings on either end of me or Nicole. It was a mistake. And instead of coming at me and saying, that's cool, I appreciate the olive branch, I still hate you, but whatever. She came at me and was like, anytime you talk to me, you make me miserable. You drive me crazy. I fucking hate you. It was just an awful, awful, awful email back.
And from the interviews, Laurel makes it sound like she'll never be able to bury the hatchet with Cara Maria.
I mean, you just said you wish her well, so it sounds like, maybe someday in the future you guys might be cool.
No, I don't think so.
All right.
I think, no, I just wish her well.
It's sad. Because at one point, Laurel had moved out to Montana for a stretch of time to be with Cara through her breakup with Abram. A friend to uproot themselves and move across the country to help during a rough patch is huge. I think only a true friend would do that for another true friend. Yet in under 2 years, where there was once care and love, now stood pain and anger.
But you guys lived together. But at some point, you guys did like each other, right?
We did. The thing is when she was kind and good, she had her moments of being above and beyond what you can ask a friend to be. But there shouldn't be the lows that equal the highs. You know what I mean? None of my friends treat me the way that she's treated me.
Cara and Laurel's relationship is a complex story by itself. We've seen a lot of it on the show, but no doubt there's more information outside the game that we as the audience aren't privy to. But this won't be the last time we see Cara and Laurel on a season together. Now, before we go on to the next main season, I want to talk about a spin-off called Champs vs. Pros. A small The Challenge spin-off where challenge champions faced off against professional athletes to win money for charity. I don't think it's necessary to spend too much time talking about this spin-off, but I want to highlight it because Cara Maria found herself in the finals paired up with Laurel, harkening back to her first challenge season when the pair exited early. Years later, here they are running in the finals together, taking home first place.
Redemption, baby! Good job.
Winning against an ex-NFL linebacker, a snowboarder, and 2 challenge champions. I want to take time to say it's moments like this that make the challenge special. With other reality shows, new faces and new storylines are made to take center stage each season. But the challenge allows us to see players play in multiple formats with varied casts that only in the challenge could we see 2 players who were paired up 7 years prior get a do-over to get redemption. Cara's win in the spinoff would be a great lead into her next challenge season. In 2017, the challenge entered its 30th season, and with it, MTV wanted to make this season bigger and more challenging than ever. The cast was made up of 30 contestants, whom TJ described as the shadiest, most conniving, cunning, and downright dirtiest players the challenge has ever had. Along with a jam-packed cast, TJ had multiple twists, such as everyone was playing for a share of $1 million and that there was going to be a redemption house. Cara Maria came in stronger than ever, both physically and socially. For the most part, Cara Maria did get some heat mainly from Kayla and Jordan. Let's first talk about Kayla, as the Jordan rivalry will be relevant later on in the season. Cara Maria, as we saw, got picked on early in her challenge career, being a target because no one liked her. But she was a strong competitor now, a champion, a real threat, and when you are on top, people want to knock you down a peg. In comes Kayla. Kayla made her challenge debut on the season prior, Invasion of the Champions. They briefly met before Kayla was eliminated by Sylvia that season, but in her sophomore year, Kayla wanted to make her mark, and she set her eyes on Cara Maria. This was sort of the motif this season. You had Corey and the Young Bucks wanting to take out the veteran men of Bananas, CT, Derek, and Jordan, as they saw it was their time to take over the challenge, while Kayla wanted to target Cara Maria and Camilla. Cara Maria excelled from the start of Dirty 30. She helped convince the already frantic Ashley to quit, taking out the reigning champ before the game even really began.
Since Ashley is definitely one of the strongest players here, I'm just thinking the house is too full anyways, so bye.
When it came to the daily challenges, Cara Maria started the season with a 5 daily challenge win streak. She won in Battle Royale, allowing her to vote in Kayla into elimination. Then Cara Maria won alongside her Bostonian friend CT in the Pirates Treasure Daily, where she was able to get another one of her harshest critics on the season, Jordan, voted into elimination. Cara Maria really had nothing to worry about for like the first 2/3 of the season. Cara was winning and staying out of the double cross pools. The worst thing to happen to her early on was a drunk Tony telling Cara Maria she looked like his 60-year-old mom.
You look like my mom. You look like my mom.
One moment I do feel like I should bring up is what happens in episode 9. Cara Maria's best friend on Dirty 30 was Camilla. This was very interesting to see, knowing their history with each other back on Battle of the Seasons when it looked as if they hated each other. But in Invasion of the Champions, the two seemed to get along, probably in thanks to a shared dislike of Amanda and the Lavender Ladies. They were seen doing pranks on the rookie women and just hanging out here and there. So when we see the two on Dirty 30, they were full-blown best friends. In episode 9, when coming into the house, Camilla overheard Leroy making comments from his room. Not knowing the context, Camilla confronts him, being aggressive against Leroy, bringing up his skin color.
Black mother. It's all about black mother.
Then when we see Camilla go downstairs, she grabs weights to possibly use them as projectiles or weapons. After dropping the weights, Cara Maria tried to console Camilla. We hear a confessional from Cara Maria then calling Camilla her #1 alliance member and her best friend in the house.
This is my #1 alliance, this is my #1 friend in the house, and like you can't break through to someone when they're in that state.
This really didn't have too much weight on Cara's game, but it showed who she was aligned with, and if there was any risk to Cara's game, it was Camilla being a liability. But Camilla came back into the game, faced no repercussions, and Cara got to keep her #1 alliance member still in the game.
I am back. Now I owe nothing to anybody except for Camilla.
It's Cara Maria's birthday, and my wish for her is to stop aligning herself with Camilla because Camilla sucks and everyone hates her.
Cara Maria's game would hit a huge speed bump in the Blackout Daily Challenge, which was a purge challenge. The team who won would get to send in 1 man and 1 woman from either of the losing teams straight to the Redemption House. Unlucky for Cara, the green team made up of Kayla, Jordan, Tony, Veronica, and Brittany won. Cara and CT were going directly into the Redemption House, 1 redemption loss away from exiting the season. In the next few episodes, the Redemption House would get crammed with competitors. Cara and CT joined Anissa and Dario, who had been in the Redemption House prior to episode 13. And in the preceding episodes, Leroy, Jemmy, Jordan, Veronica, Brittany, and Bananas would join the party as well. This is where the big fight between Cara Maria and Jordan happened. In episode 14, Jordan and Veronica were sent directly to the Redemption House after a purge challenge, which can be seen by some as karma. Everything gets kicked off when Cara asks Veronica who suggested to send Cara to Redemption. Was it Kayla or Jordan?
Him.
Now the Jordan and Cara rivalry felt to come out of nowhere. Before Dirty 30, Cara and Jordan had been on 2 seasons together. Rewatching those seasons, one couldn't see any animosity spark up between the two. Jordan made claims that no one wanted to run the finals with Cara Maria. He was very blunt, asserting Cara crumbles under pressure situations, which wasn't completely untrue. In Rivals 2, Jordan saw Cara Maria freak out in the Swingers Daily Challenge, and this was a point of criticism Cara's own cousin had said back during the season 27 finals.
Cara's weakness is sometimes she gives up on herself and she gets...
I do not.
Jordan would go on to name other men in the game who would not want to be paired up with Cara in the finals, and further states that other women like Tori, Jenna, and Kayla, one of Cara's biggest adversaries on the season, would be much better partners in a finals. that they can run, swim, and are easier to work with. Cara Maria was offended. Feeling disrespected, she sets Jordan's bag on a sailing voyage in the Redemption House pool. Little did they know that there was no getting away from each other. Both Jordan and Cara would win themselves back into the main game. Then they would win a boat ride together after finishing in the top 2 in the X Marks the Spots daily challenge, a challenge that rewarded them tickets to the finals. Cara Maria was back in the finals, but she would have her work cut out for her. This was a stacked finals made up of CT, Jordan, Derek, Camilla, Cara, and Tori, the rookie of the season. The Dirty 30 finals would be ran in stages, with most of it being done in pairs. But there was a choice to every stage where whoever got done quicker would get to choose which player they'd get to be partnered up with. And unlike other challenges, you could duplicate pairings. Thanks to giving players the options to repeat pairs, Cara Maria and Jordan never had to work with each other during the finals at all. This was a tough finals. Cara Maria didn't have her best showing. She consistently did well, but her effort just wasn't good enough. She'd be paired with Derek K for the majority of the finals and once with CT. She would securely lock in a second place finish and a check for $35,000. Even though she didn't win, this season marked a first for Cara Maria. Dirty 30 was the first challenge season that Cara didn't see an elimination. Yes, it helped she was in the Redemption House for a time, and yes, she did take part in a redemption game, but when looking strictly at eliminations, Cara Maria was clean, and this was a trend that she was hoping to continue into the next season. Can I say, I think when it comes to Cara's career, I'd consider Vendettas to be the smoothest season she has ever played. There was very little Cara Maria had to overcome in this season. Early on, Cara and Marie both found the rookie from the UK, Kyle, very cute. And even though he kissed Marie first, he found his way into Cara's heart and bed. Kyle and Cara were a dynamic duo for the whole season, and to be honest, they both seemed very happy. On the Challenge Mania podcast, Cara opened up about her dating history. She described her experiences as a struggle.
I don't have a dating life. I don't even have like a hookup life. That's why I was so excited when I went on the show and like there was a guy that I found attractive. I was like, yes, a unicorn.
She also said that she had a very specific type that if she does find someone she likes, it's like finding a unicorn. And in Vendettas, Kyle was that unicorn. Cara had some great new friendships in the game with Kyle and Natalie, both of whom helped her tremendously. Natalie cozied up to Bananas, and Kyle had a great social game. He got friendly with a ton of the house, including Bananas, Zach, Tony, and many more. With her vet status and now new bonds that helped connect her to other parts of the house, Cara was covered on all sides. Everything was working in Cara's favor this season. Marie exited the game midway through when she couldn't break out of a basket. Bananas was public enemy number 1 when a rumor of him kissing Kaylee shook up the whole house. The rookie Cam was the scapegoat of the season as she saw a ton of eliminations in Vendettas. Despite Cara being nominated 3 times by the Troika, she didn't see a single elimination on her way to another finals appearance. Cara Maria in the finals had an easier time than the previous season's finals. First of all, the level of competition wasn't as tough. Going from 5 champs and a rookie to 2 champs, 2 finalists, 2 rookies, Tony and Kayla, the main difference of this final compared to the others was that only one person would be crowned champion, the first ever solo winner in the show's history. The first section of the finals had multiple stages, and the slowest 2 men and women would be purged before the second portion. Cara Maria and Kayla really lucked out as Nicole Z was medically disqualified early, and Cam was the only person unfortunate enough to lose Decked Out, a game of higher or lower against mercenaries. Everyone but Cam was able to win their rounds. Cam was tasked by Melissa to bury a log, which took her challenge-winning dreams to the grave. The final section of the Vendettas finals was a free-for-all task called Memory Smash. Players had to memorize a board of colors, then run to another board to recreate it. The first player to correctly recreate their color board and then hoist the challenge flag would win. Honestly, Cara Maria couldn't ask for a better trio to face off against. Not trying to throw shade on Kayla, Zach, or Kyle, but none had the experience that Cara Maria had at that time. Zach won his rookie season and had done well in other seasons following then, but he didn't have as much skill, especially when it came to memory tasks. This was Kyle and Kayla's first finals experiences. Both played well on the season, but neither seemed really in contention to win. Cara Maria was able to take care of business, put her board together, and win. Cara Maria, now a two-time champ, made history being the first solo winner of the challenge. The title was hers and hers alone at that moment, along with a check for over $378,000. Cara Maria had hit the peak. She was queen of the challenge. At one point, Cara Maria was the first eliminated, unsure if she'd ever get another chance on the show. Now a 6-time finalist, 2-time champ, and face of the challenge. Nothing could stop her.
You may or may not know me as the little bad boy villain from Big Brother 18. If you like me, thank you. If you don't, then you could just go yourself.
One would think that the next step of our journey would take us to the start of the challenge's 32nd season Final Reckoning. However, our story actually starts about a month prior to Final Reckoning's premiere, where Cara was making headlines on various entertainment websites for a hookup that happened on the upcoming season. Now, it's highly unusual a relationship on the challenge would spark this much conversation with media outlets when this sort of behavior happens all the time. Well, this was different. In this instance, Cara wasn't having relations with a rookie from a small MTV show. This was a love triangle that featured 3 people from different reality TV franchises. Cara Maria was making headlines for hooking up with Paulie Calafiore from Big Brother 18. Because Paulie plays a big role from here on out, I think this is the right time to do a deep dive into who Paulie is, his background, and how he became a competitor on the challenge. Paul Ryan Christopher Calafiore is from Howell, New Jersey. He was raised by his mother Linda and his father Paul. He has a sister named Angelina and a brother named Cody. During his upbringing, there was an emphasis in the Calafiore household on sports, which led Paulie pursuing martial arts, wrestling, and soccer. In high school, Paulie's father told him he needed to choose one sport to primarily focus on, and he chose soccer.
Once I got to high school, my dad was like, you have to choose one sport to go all in on, and then the other one you do for fun. I chose soccer.
Paulie put up some decent numbers in high school with 26 goals and 53 assists as a 3-year captain. After high school, he attended Rutgers University. It was there he joined the soccer team, playing mainly as a defender. He wouldn't get to put up flashy numbers, but he was an integral part of the defensive core. Paulie's time in Rutgers would be plagued by injuries. In his junior year, Paulie only played 4 games before suffering a season-ending leg injury. He bounced back in both his 2010 and 2011 seasons, playing and starting in the majority of games, helping to end his collegiate career on a high note. When rewatching his reality TV show appearances prior to the challenge, one tidbit stood out to me.
And thankful enough to play in the MLS.
Seductive single number 8 is professional soccer player Paulie.
I never remembered Paulie mentioning he was a professional soccer player in the past, and it was a bit harder to fact check this claim. And even when I found an answer, I don't know if I can completely trust it. But it would make sense why I couldn't find any evidence through an MLS-connected reference.
You know, and then I went on to have a short stint in the MLS, and then I got injured, and then there's my life. But
again, injuries barred Paulie from reaching his full potential. Paulie was a busy man and had many occupations prior to his Big Brother premiere. He was a DJ/MC. He tried modeling. Creator of the Calafiore 360 fitness course. Creator of PC Fitness, a mobile bootcamp program. He was a manager and co-owner of Sweat Gym Elite Fitness, another fitness training program. He competed in professional bodybuilding. Dan Donegan was set to offer Paulie a job to join the Rutgers men's soccer coaching staff, but passed on the opportunity to go on Big Brother 18. Two years prior, in 2014, Paulie's younger brother Cody played on Big Brother 16. In his season, Cody locked into a Final 2 alliance with a player named Derek. Together, the duo played the game in lockstep. They eventually reached the goal of getting to the Final 2, where Derek won by a vote of 7-2. 2 seasons later, and Big Brother brought on Paulie as a twist in which 2 players who were related to prior house guests would compete on the season. Why only 2? Who knows? Big Brother doesn't care if the twists are good, They just want twists for the sake of having them. When it came to the early comps on Big Brother 18, Paulie did well, winning head of household twice and the veto 3 times. Paulie excelled in the game physically, but socially? Let's just say Paulie was a very polarizing figure in the house and with the audience.
No, you're about as fake as the things on your chest.
You're actually being very disrespectful.
You're being disrespectful.
You're never gonna be Cody or Derek.
House guests would label Paulie as aggressive and confrontational, especially towards the women in the game. Over the course of the season, he would get into a good amount of arguments. Some notable ones were Paulie's confrontations with Natalie, Michelle, and Davon.
Run back.
What kind of example
Run
you set
back.
for your
Run
baby
back.
girl?
Don't break out my daughter.
Paulie would not win Big Brother. Despite a hot start, he would be betrayed by his alliance, and most importantly, Paul. At one point, it looked like Paulie was trying to morph himself into Paul. It was like it's not good enough to have the same name, but they had to do everything the same. My theory is that Paulie saw how good of a duo Derek and Cody were back in season 16 that he felt he had his Derek type of friendship with Paul. But things changed when Victor won back into the game. Paul made an alliance with him, and Paulie was looked at as expendable. In week 8, Paulie was evicted from the game by a unanimous vote.
Well, I figured you would give me a sympathy vote because that's what you did to Vic.
I would. By a vote of 5-0, Paulie, you are evicted.
After Big Brother 18 had wrapped, Paulie got the call to be on MTV's The Challenge. According to Paulie, he was originally set to make his challenge debut on season 31 Vendettas, but prior to his departure date, he suffered a serious injury and instead made his MTV debut on X on the Beach season 1.
The challenge had called for Vendettas the night before flying out. I took a DJ gig and I dropped a piece of equipment on that same ankle that I had injured.
Paulie wasn't as controversial or as fiery on X on the Beach like he was on Big Brother. Probably because of all the other big personalities on the season that overshadowed his storyline. Paulie had only one ex show up, Lexi, and their season arc was relatively quiet. Paulie would downplay his X on the Beach appearance, saying it was just a vacation to heal, and he never had any real relationship with Lexi. I do want to let everyone hear Lexi's side of the story from the first episode.
We're exclusive, we're dating, like you're telling me you love me, and I had to find out from social media that like there's someone else in your life.
It was nothing.
How can you say it was nothing? You were sleeping with her.
I take full responsibility for what happened. Could it have been handled better? Maybe.
Yes, it could have.
Sounds familiar. Regardless of the validity of their relationship, on the season, Lexi and Paulie were joined at the hip. In the last episode, they decided to leave the season together as a couple. A month after X on the Beach season 1 ended, Paulie made his debut on the challenge in season 32 Final Reckoning. Paulie was partnered with his Big Brother rival Natalie. In episode 3, Paulie and Natalie lost an elimination and found themselves in the Redemption House. They'd essentially stayed there until way late in the game. Prior to leaving for the Redemption House, Paulie caught the eye of Cara Maria. Cara mentions on the Challenge Mania podcast that she and Paulie met at the airport on their way to South Africa. On their initial meeting, Cara states they had a connection.
When I met Paulie at the airport, there was this sort of weird magnetic connection to him. You know, we were flirting with each other and like we were just joking with each other. We were getting along. We were vibing really well. Like I was just really drawn to him.
Someone else Cara met at the airport on her way to filming season 32 was Kyle. Last time we saw Cara and Kyle interact in the challenge was at the Vendettas reunion. From their remarks, it didn't sound like they were actively pursuing a relationship. They had their fun, the distance was too much to overcome, and maybe later on they'd hook back up on another season of the challenge.
You guys are not together, I take it, you and Kyle.
He lives in another country,
People have long-distance relationships.
I just want to have fun.
On Betches.com, Cara Maria outlines what changed for her and Kyle between Vendettas and Final Reckoning. The pair did hang out between the seasons. Kyle visited Cara Maria and even met her family. Cara notes that things didn't get bad until once the season began. On the plane, Kyle told Cara that he had a girlfriend which completely blindsided her. What really confused Cara was when Kyle proceeds to hook up with Faith and Ashley once in the challenge house. Cara states Kyle was extremely jealous, particularly when she flirted with other people. Enter Paulie. Cara would let it be known how attracted she was to Paulie and used him a lot to make Kyle jealous.
We can either like have fun and make Kyle jealous, or you can go home to a relationship that's boring.
Which in turn led to her getting more attention from Kyle. Cara talks in the interview that Kyle was manipulative in the way that he would be super sweet and cuddly to Cara in one moment, then badmouth her and make out with other people in the next. We can see some of this play out a bit during the season.
Oh, I said, yo, you might wake up the next morning and want Cara. No, I would never want Cara.
If we remember a conversation Cara had with Challenge Mania podcast about how hard her dating life was back in Montana, we hadn't really seen her get involved with anyone on the challenge since Abram like we did with Kyle. It's possible that Cara, who didn't have the most lengthy dating history, finally felt comfortable to open up to Kyle, let down her wall thinking Kyle could be someone she could be vulnerable with, and if they couldn't be a full romantic couple, maybe they could be really good friends, possibly with benefits. But Cara felt Kyle was acting drastically different than how he was in his previous season. The constant back and forth Jekyll and Hyde type of relationship Cara mentions led to a complicated situation. No doubt Cara felt frustrated by this whole debacle. Honestly, in Final Reckoning, it felt like Cara's relationship came first and gameplay took a back seat. Hence how I got this far without even saying who Cara Maria was partnered with on the season. In episode 1, Cara found out she would be partnered up with Marie. In Vendettas, the two were in a brief love triangle with Kyle. After Kyle chose Cara, the two women would take some shots at each other in the confessionals.
If you're gonna go for Marie, then I'm judging you, Kyle.
Out there's only one troll in this room, and that's Cara.
They continued their beef on social media and at the Vendettas reunion. All of that accumulated into them being partnered up together for this season. Cara Maria was dismayed because she didn't consider Marie a top competitor, but to be fair, Marie was a great shield. With the cast makeup on 32, Cara wasn't the most liked person. She had her emotional drama with Kyle, her best friend Natalie was in the redemption house, and Amanda with the other Lavender ladies had it out for her. She was so deficient in numbers that she was aligned with Bananas. Yes, that's how dire it was for her. Bananas was in a very similar position with the Young Bucks. Cara and Bananas, the two most accomplished players on the season, were in the hot seat. But this is where Marie's social game came in handy. Marie was not an official Lavender lady, but she was an associate. She was very close with Shane, Sylvia, and Ashley. This helped save her and Cara from seeing an elimination until there was no other choice for the gigantic alliance. In episode 14, Bananas and Tony won the daily challenge Skybridge to get safety. That left Cara and Marie the only other team available who didn't have a Young Buck or a Lavender lady. They chose Nelson and Shane to face off against in Meet Me Halfway, which Cara and Marie lost. Their Redemption House visit was short-lived as TJ announced that the next Redemption game would be in episode 16, and two people would win back into the game. The first thing Cara Maria did coming into the Redemption House was make a deal with Cam and Kaylee to choose each other if either picked the double cross. Luckily, Cam and Kaylee did pull the double cross. They kept their word and chose Cara Maria and Marie. Cara and Marie would win themselves back into the house, along with Paulie and Natalie. That's right, Paulie and Natalie were finally back in the game after being sent to the Redemption House back in episode 3. Paulie and Natalie had a string of luck to get to this point. They played in a total of 3 redemption games. 2 times Devon and Jose pulled the double cross. Both times they chose to face against their big brother buddies who just couldn't get a win. Maybe it was karma for Paulie's mental warfare he did in episode 4. After losing to Devon and Jose in the Balls to the Wall redemption game, Paulie got very angry to the point he had to be held back by security when yelling at Zach, Kyle, and Brad. Then right before heading back to the Redemption House, Paulie told Brad that Brittany had relations with her ex Chuck.
I did you a favor, bro. Your girl was her ex in the Redemption House.
Brad, who looked to have snapped out of his midlife crisis in that instant, took that information and broke up with Brittany. This level of gameplay, along with the jealousy angle, spurred on the Paulie versus Kyle rivalry. Back to episode 16, not only did Cam and Kaylee pull a double cross, but so did Kyle and Brad. They chose to play against Natalie and Paulie in the That's the Ticket redemption game. Paulie and Natalie would win, not only sending a team that was directly against them back to the Redemption House, but also winning themselves back into the game. With the swing of momentum, Final Reckoning was looking quite different from what it looked like a few episodes earlier. Corey and Devin had been DQ'd over Fettuccine Alfredo. Bananas, Tony, Shane, and Nelson all found themselves in the Redemption House. Natalie and Paulie went on a 2 daily challenge winning streak. In the final 2 Redemption games, Cam, Kaylee, Bananas, and Tony all won themselves back into the game, all while Cara Marie would just lay low, play under the radar, making it safely to the finals. Paulie and Natalie found themselves in the last elimination of the season. They went the distance in milk and cookies, an elimination deemed the longest in the challenge's history. Paulie and Tony consumed a ton of milk and cookies, while Bananas and Natalie kept their hands up for a long time. But it was the Big Brother duo who locked in the win to secure their spot in the finals. Now there's a rumor that the final elimination we saw between the 2 pairs was originally something different. Marie, who was writing recaps of Final Reckoning for Betches.com, confirms that they started playing a different elimination but was put on hold due to a broken contraption. In search of fairness, production sent everyone back to the challenge house, then brought them back the next night to finish up the elimination. But when the competitors returned, there was a whole new elimination game. Marie says that if the original elimination had counted, Tony and Bananas would have made the finals. Instead, Paulie and Natalie won, and this is where we see Paulie and Cara's affair happen on screen. And if we had any doubt what happened, Sylvia was there for confirmation. The end of Final Reckoning doesn't really matter, as neither Cara nor Paulie would win. Now I'd like to go back to the love triangle I talked about at the beginning of this video. I think the most straightforward way to understand how everything went down is to make a simple timeline of events. Paulie goes to film Ex on the Beach Season 1 from November to December in 2017. While there, he and Lexi strike up a romance with one another. But soon after coming back from filming, Lexi found messages from and sent to Danielle Maltby. In January of 2018, Danielle posted to Instagram about being in an official relationship with Paulie. 2 months later, in March, Paulie leaves to film the challenge Final Reckoning. While there, he finds chemistry with Cara Maria. And thanks to the Redemption House twist/format, Paulie stays the whole 2 to 2.5 months into May. June 2018, Cara Maria told Derek and Scott on the Challenge Mania podcast that once Paulie got his phone back, he told Danielle everything. He was honest and straight up with her about the whole situation.
So it was established as soon as he was able to, you know, he told her everything above and beyond, like the fact that you could even tell somebody that who still loves you. Like I'm blown away because I wasn't able to do that for Abram, you know? And he was just like, look, I'm sorry, this is the life that I want. This is what I want to do. And I don't want to, I can't be with you.
However, Danielle has a different recollection of said phone call. She says Paulie told her that there was something between him and Cara, but he stopped it from it going all the way. He would go on to tell Danielle that he has a ring to propose to her and how she is the only one for him. When Paulie left South Africa, he flew to Nashville to be with Danielle. During his visit, Paulie got very ill and went to the hospital. At the hospital, he told Danielle everything. He profusely apologized, then told Danielle he wants to be with her and her alone. Also in June 2018, the entertainment news articles about the love triangle were being published. Around that time, Paulie was flying back and forth from New York/New Jersey and Nashville. The same month, Cara posts about being in New York with Paulie.
He had already told her everything. He had already broken up with her. So when we were together in New York, he wasn't with her anymore.
Now Danielle would question him about spending time with Cara, but he would reassure Danielle that nothing was going on. They are just using this as a storyline for the show. In July 2018, Cara Maria did an interview with US Weekly telling them that her and Paulie were officially dating. That same month, Paulie went to Mexico with Danielle. In Mexico, Paulie and Danielle went to couples counseling sessions and did a bit more while they were there.
What did you go to Mexico for? What was it for?
She wanted to figure out either what getting us back on the right path was going to look like, or the other path of like without me, you know. And I did it. Okay, I did it. I went down there, and we talked.
You guys were intimate.
Yeah, we had sex. Yeah, we had sex one of the nights when I was there, and it is what it is.
August 2018, Paulie meets up with Cara Maria to film How Far Is Tattoo Far. He picks out a thoughtful tattoo for Cara, and she picks herself as a tattoo for Paulie. This is when Paulie said, "I love you" for the first time.
That I loved you.
September 2018, Paulie flies to Nashville to spend Labor Day with Danielle and her family. When with Danielle, He talks about how mad he is about the Cara tattoo. For September, Paulie and Danielle spend a lot of time together since he was to leave in October for the Challenge War of the Worlds. The night before flying out, he and Danielle are intimate with one another. October through December of 2018, Paulie is in Namibia filming the Challenge War of the Worlds. It's during that season he and Cara look like a full-blown couple. We'll get to this season momentarily, I just want to wrap up this whole mess while we're here. Paulie is purged from the season, and the first thing he does when he gets his phone back is call Danielle. However, she doesn't pick up. He keeps trying to get a hold of her, but she won't answer his calls or text messages. Instead, once the season is wrapped, Danielle and Cara sit down to talk with each other. Both women compare notes and how Paulie's been acting, going over what he's told both of them, which leads both women feeling betrayed and hurt. Danielle told her side of the story to People.com. Cara and Paulie weren't super exclusive with each other at this time. All she wanted from Paulie was the truth, but Paulie wasn't being truthful with Cara during that time. She said that she knew Paulie was still talking to Danielle, but didn't know about the vacations or that he was still courting her. Both relationships Paulie had with Danielle and Cara were absolved by December of 2018. In December, Paulie went live on Instagram to proclaim his love and his desire to be back with Cara Maria.
I loved Cara. I want to be with Cara.
This live is infamous for how awkward, cringy, and at times gross.
At the strip club, Cara got me a lap dance where I got tied up and got whipped. Danielle only wanted to make love. Cara and I, we needed more. I wanted to be a challenger, and I wanted to be with Cara. It was hard to tell Danielle this. We would have a lot of phone conversations, and she would break down. She would tell me that there's no way that I can choose that home-wrecking MTV whore over her. And these are her words. I even came out right after Final Reckoning and tweeted a whole bunch of things saying, I can't be monogamous. I can't do these relationships. That's what Cara loved about me, is that I would just be open and I didn't care. But for Cara and Danielle to be talking this whole time, and for them to not even want to talk to me to handle this privately, is ridiculous. This is a smear campaign. I'll do anything to be with Cara, but I don't know what to do. She, I'm in a situation where my ex has her fucking head all fucked up right now. Cara, stop, you know that what our feelings are. Don't try and play the victim here. You knew what you were getting yourself into with me. The fact that her and Danielle now want to come together and want to do this, Cara, you never gave a fuck about Danielle. You never cared about Danielle. You didn't care about Danielle when you were pursuing me, when you were with me, when you were fucking making fun of her. Danielle, you never gave a fuck about Cara when you would sit there and you would try and tell me how she's a fucking home-wrecking slut, how she's a fucking MTV fucking whore. I don't understand what all this is now.
This breakup really hurt Cara. Many castmates and friends took to social media to show support for her and to take some shots at Paulie. We saw Jemmy, Veronica, Marie, and many more try to be there for her. Even Banana sent Cara flowers with a heartfelt note, letting her know she deserves to be treated much better. In January of 2019, Paulie did an interview with Reality Steve. At the end of the interview, we heard that Paulie was in Montana to meet up with Cara Maria.
We'll definitely be watching season 33. Say hi to Cara for me while you're in Montana. I don't know. I don't know.
Blow up our spot like that.
Oh shit! Everybody in the challenge world knows. Trust me.
Then in February of 2019, Cara and Paulie took to Instagram to announce that they were officially back together. Right on schedule for the premiere of the next season. Cara and Paulie came into season 33 as a package deal. Paulie tried to show everyone he meant business, being the first to complete the impending Doom challenge in episode 1 on the men's side of the competition.
That's my man, I'm having sex with him tonight, yeah.
Cara wasn't able to win on the women's side, but that wasn't going to be any indication of how the season would play out for her. The format of the season in the start was the new players would be partnered up with challenge veterans. Ninja had the first pick and chose Paulie as her partner. Cara Maria would be chosen by Theo Campbell with the 6th pick. Paulie and Cara came in having each other's backs and now had 2 strong partners, making them a fierce 4. The way this season played out was pretty perfect for Cara and Paulie. First, either one or both of the duo found themselves in the tribunal 9 out of 12 times on the season. Combined, they only saw one elimination, which Paulie and Ninja won against Ashley, Kane, and Cam in the Wheel of Death elimination. Anyone who was against Cara and or Paulie were shown the exit sometime or another. Ashley, the reigning champ, and someone who was against Cara the prior season was eliminated in an act of revenge by Hunter and Georgia. Bananas was eliminated in episode 3. Episode 4 was a bit of a hiccup as two close friends of CT and Natalie were eliminated. If Kyle hadn't won, it would have been picture perfect for them. Instead, Kyle stayed in and was Paulie and Cara's target the whole game. The two men would butt heads on the season, both figuratively and literally, sometimes just because Paulie thought it would make him look more attractive to Cara.
Cara Maria, she likes when I get a little hot-headed. She likes when I get in other guys' faces.
We'd see Zach, someone who was very critical of Cara and Paulie's relationship despite having his own relationship struggles.
She wasn't still in love with you, she wouldn't act like this. She's as fake as her hair. She's worthless as a human being. When Paulie's on top of her, her eyes are closed, and she's imagining him.
Leave in episode 5. The next 4 to exit were Leroy, Banana's right-hand man, Amanda, Cara's biggest foe last season, Jenna, Zach's significant other, and Cam, a strong competitor. Episode 10, the challenge implemented a twist to do away with pairs and make it a solo game. This led to the elimination of Bear, the house menace, Nani, Banana's right-hand woman, and finally, Kyle. Now this is an elimination I want to linger on. As stated earlier, Paulie and Kyle were going at it the whole season.
We're gonna go at each other.
If you want to take me out, you should do it yourself.
Act like I ain't gonna come to your front door, bro. I've been at your front door this whole time. Get the girls out of it, and I just have Kyle by myself, me and him.
No.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna keep the rivalry going between Kyle and myself. Because Cara's here saying, I want him to suffer on all levels. Do we have to go against each other? Is that the only way we get each other out?
Could be. Yeah.
Kyle was ultimately voted into what was the Hall Brawl. Paulie was looking down at the exact opportunity he said he wanted. Wes even tried to spur on Paulie to face Kyle by asking if anyone wanted to volunteer themselves to go into the elimination.
Before I say who my vote is for, are there any volunteers?
But Paulie passed. Instead, Kyle chose Theo. Kyle was bruised, battered, but not broken. Maybe in spirit as he went through a grueling season thanks mainly in part to Cara and Paulie. Kyle was eliminated in episode 12. The only thing that stood in the way of Cara and Paulie making it to the finals together was a purge challenge called Judgment Day. A rigorous challenge that had players swimming a lot, climbing up cargo nets, and swinging from suspended containers. Cara had gotten first place for the women in the previous daily crash landing, along with Turbo allowing them to sit out of the Purge challenge, meaning Cara was going to another finals, and she waited for Paulie to join her. But alas, he wouldn't. Paulie messed up on the initial dive into the water, and it threw off his whole run. He was timed out and set the bar low for the rest of the guys to easily pass him. Paulie was eliminated right before the finals. A crushing exit for both him and Cara. But Cara needed to keep her head up as she was heading into a finals many would deem the hardest final in the challenge's history. The War of the Worlds finals weren't the best showing for Cara Maria. Maybe it was the level of competition. Maybe it was the games. Maybe her head wasn't fully in it with Paulie's recent exit. Either way, day 1, Cara tried to keep up, but finished in the middle of the pack. Luckily, the tribunal of Theo, Turbo, and Wes didn't choose her to face off against Hunter in the Walk Tiny elimination. Instead, they chose Ninja, who won the battle. Cara Maria was tortured in the overnight portion. She freaked out and refused to take the IV hydration drip.
I'm not putting a needle in my arm.
You're gonna feel good.
Don't do it. Please, I don't want to even be in here. Can I leave? Please, can I leave? I can't do this. I can't be in here. I can't be in here. I need to go.
The next day of the finals started better for Cara. She was the only person to get a trivia question correct, which gave her a great head start to the next station. The problem was that the next station was playing Battle Ball, a Connect 4 type of game with another competitor. So Cara waited, and waited, and waited until another competitor showed up. She lost multiple matches, sending her back on this stage. Cara would finish this run, and the competitors were loaded back in the truck to another course. The next station had players running 5 miles doing math problems along the way to figure out a code to unlock a kayak in order to reach the final stretch. Cara Maria struggled heavily during the math run. It came down to her or Theo being purged, and unfortunately for Cara, the last kayak sailed away with her dreams of winning the season. By far, a solid season for both Cara Maria and Paulie. It's just that at the end, they had meltdowns and pivotal moments. Many would criticize their gameplay on the season, mainly for them being too narrow-focused on getting Kyle out of the game, and also being cringe about their relationship, like when they walked around the house looking for places to have sex.
We can have sex in my room. We can have sex there, here, 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 here.
It felt at times, kind of like in Final Reckoning, that their relationship dominated their game with who they targeted and how they viewed the game overall. Much of the audience saw them going after Kyle more because they had personal problems with him than it being the smartest decision strategically. But we'd see Cara and Paulie back on This was an official turning of the tides for Cara. Cara and Paulie came into the game connected through a West web. Before the season began, Wes reached out to a ton of players to get into a giant alliance. Now this alliance was made before knowing what the format of the season was going to be. It turned out to be a 2-team format with US contestants playing against UK contestants. But this format would not shake the numbers of the pre-game alliance. The players on the outside, such as Bananas, Laurel, Nani, Leroy, Josh, Jordan, Tori, and Zach, were outnumbered, and most didn't stay outcast for very long. Team US was a strong team, like I mean strong. They won the majority of the dailies and overall were better in almost every way. However, when Laurel and Josh found themselves in a 2-3 majority in the tribunal, they decided to take a shot at their own team by sending Wes in to take on Bear. Wes was eliminated and the US team began to fracture. Laurel and Bananas led the charge to throw the next daily to give the UK team the power. They were hoping to chip away at the big pre-game alliance. Their plan was to get Ninja and Cara in an elimination against each other. After a heated loser vote,
Did I raise my voice to you? Sit down.
Because you're not letting me speak.
The US had enough votes to get Ninja sent in. But Dee and Idris outvoted the other alliance by sending Laurel in against Ninja. In one of the oddest elimination results we have come to see on the show, Laurel was eliminated.
I've gotten the revenge that I needed to get. Like, everything from my past, I'm just like, I'm done.
Back at the challenge house, a truce was made to elect Paulie speaker at the next daily in an act of good faith.
Look me in the eyes, in front of all these people. You make me the tribunal speaker, I won't put in anybody from our team.
Team US won. Paulie was the speaker and chose Jordan and Cara to make up the tribunal with him. They sat in on the UK loser vote, where they saw Theo voted into the elimination. At the elimination, the US vote was split on who to send in against him. It came down to Paulie, who voted in.
My vote's for Johnny.
Once Bananas was eliminated, the dominoes fell on the opposite alliance. Some would hold their ground to combat Cara's cult, as the big alliance would be later named by Georgia. The core members of Cara's cult was Cara, Paulie, Turbo, CT, and Ninja. Ashley needed a home and joined in on the action, along with Cam, who brought in Kaylee. It was there that Kaylee brought in Joss, Rogan, and Dee. Leroy would rekindle a relationship with Cam to then be initiated into the alliance. Zach rode the fence, still being friends with Jordan and Nani, but would be in the fold for Cara's cult. After losing Relic Runner in episode 4, Team US would only lose 2 more dailies. One by one, the numbers against Cara and Paulie would be voted in and sent home. It was domination. Earlier I mentioned this season was a turning point for Cara. This was a season that Cara and Paulie were edited to be the villains. This was a direct contrast to how Jordan and Tori, the other challenge couple on the season, was portrayed. Jordan and Tori were viewed as the underdogs. It doesn't seem likely with Jordan being a 2-time champion at this point of his challenge career. However, with his numbers dwindling and being sent into multiple eliminations, it was a great storyline. Cara and Paulie were the duo with all the numbers and all the power throughout the whole season. Cara got the brunt of the villain edit, from celebrating with Ashley when they tried to get Turbo and Jordan to fight each other in an attempt to get them disqualified.
We're so good at it.
To her making slide remarks during Tori and Jordan's proposal.
She's gonna be paying for that ring when he sabotages our team. Sorry.
Are you kidding me with that comment?
Cara was now shown as confident, angry, and vindictive. Words I didn't use to describe Cara much in the seasons prior to what we saw from her in War of the Worlds 2. One aspect of Paulie that I want to mention now is his affection for the Joker. More specifically, Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight movie. From quoting the Joker,
"Why so serious? That will turn me on."
Having him as his Twitter banner, dressing in purple at the reunion, and having a wall of Joker pictures in his and Cara's house. I bring this up because I think Paulie saw himself as the Joker of the challenge, an agent of chaos who was cunning and devious. The problem is that the Joker in The Dark Knight, despite trying to portray himself as someone who didn't have plans, he did. He had rather complex plans that helped him stay 5 steps ahead of everyone. Paulie, however, didn't have a solid plan to help win the finals. He just had a plan to have numbers in a way to get him and Cara to the finals. But getting to the finals and setting yourself up to win are two different things. And if Paulie was the Joker, he needed someone to be his foil. And late in the game, a worthy adversary made the strongest move against him and Cara when it mattered the most. CT played along with Cara and Paulie for protection until the final tribunal. CT was the speaker and chose Rogan and Tori to be in power and safety. CT laid in wait to make his move to lock in a strong team for the finals. Cara felt betrayed, but this power move worked out. Team UK, made of CT, Jordan, Tori, D, and Rogan, would run the finals against the bigger US team. But in the finals, the US numbers actually were a hindrance in terms of how many sandbags they had to carry on their gurney. A series of bad luck plagued the team, starting with CT running into them to break their gurney. Cara's math skills would prove to be an impediment in a second straight final. The teamwork of the US was non-existent. Some members like Zach were happy to see his team struggle because he didn't like how Paulie and Cara played the game.
You wondered why I wanted to keep strong players on this team, now you know.
I'll admit, Paulie and Cara played a solid game, socially and physically. I mean, the duo didn't see a single elimination on the season. But they were very reactionary in the sense that they played checkers instead of chess. They put together a good blueprint to ensure a finals appearance, but once in the finals, their team just wasn't effective. And neither were Cara and Paulie, who both crumbled at certain checkpoints. The finals would end with a 4v4 foot race to a puzzle, then kayak to a yacht. Team US, made of Cara, Paulie, Zach, and Ninja, finished second place, which in a 2-team race is last place. In this instant, Paulie was more like the Joker than ever before because at the end, he lost. Cara no doubt was disappointed coming up short in another finals. But seeing her stats over the last 5 seasons, she had a lot to be proud of. One word that could be used to describe Cara during this run is consistent. But also during this time, some fans or some who related to Cara now found themselves looking at her differently. No longer was she the small, quirky underdog wanting to prove she belonged in the game, but now someone who is confident, vengeful, and driven by anger. In December 2019, Cara and Paulie announced that they would be taking a little break from the challenge. Cara mentioned that you can't put a price tag on happiness, given the impression that she was no longer happy when competing on the show. She wanted to take time to find herself. But what was thought to be a little break turned into years of both Cara and Paulie being away from the show. But why? Let's stick with this US Weekly article from late 2019. If you read it, the verbiage sort of makes it sound like Cara and Paulie decided on their own to take a break. Then a rumor started to circulate that both Paulie and Cara were called for the 35th season, Total Madness. But Paulie was dropped by production and Cara Maria pulled out. Let's jump back to October 2019, as this was a very busy month for Paulie and Cara Maria. The challenge filmed a reunion for War of the Worlds 2 in October. While in London, stories of a fight breaking out between Paulie and some of his castmates started flooding the internet. A video surfaced of what looks to be the aftermath of the incident, with the cast in a parking lot trying to be separated.
It's all kicking off. So calm down now.
This was roughly the same time Paulie and Cara were putting together multiple posts about them breaking up. They coordinated and filmed various Instagram lives, stating at one point that they were in an open relationship.
That good?
Yeah, minus that you didn't say anything about an open relationship.
Oh.
From the start,
Wait. There is no cheating. There's never been any cheating. There will never be cheating for the rest of our lives because we've been in an open relationship. I hope that you guys can find happiness in things other than dissecting our relationship that may or may not be a relationship, because we might be friends with benefits. We might already be engaged. Yeah, so you'll never know, because we are so completely open and can do whatever we want. So, the end, we've always has been, always will be, so shut the f*** up with everything that you have to say from here on out, okay? Is that okay?
And then the following days, they announced that they had split up.
Just gotta be honest. It's been a long time coming, but Cara and I have decided that it's probably best that we go our separate ways.
All for it to be a hoax. The pair claimed it was a social experiment.
All right, this is social experiment. Take 1, night 1. You sure you can do this?
I'm gonna give it my best acting tally-ho, but I do want to say before we do this, I'm sorry to all those who love and support us. This isn't meant for you, but please forgive us for what we were about to do, but it needs to be done. So right now everybody's freaking out about us being broken up. And while you're all going crazy doing your thing, this is us. And again, this is not for the people that love and support us, and I am so sorry about you guys right now, because we love you and we appreciate you, but this is a learning lesson for everyone else.
And that we are friends.
Combine what was said to have happened at the hotel in London, all that was rumored to have happened at the actual reunion, and then certain Instagram posts all of this caused a wave of turmoil that led to a rumor of Paulie being dropped from Total Madness for failing a psych test. Now, Paulie would go on to deny failing a psych test for years, and later he would reveal that what happened in London the night before the reunion played a big part in him not being asked back on the challenge for Total Madness and Double Agents.
I was told that an entire day they were just like talking smack. I went to go get something to eat, and I walked through the crowd of them, and they all very quiet, and I was like, exactly what I thought. Silent. I said, because you guys are weak. I said, and I can't wait to see you guys in 10 days. I said, and I am going to take every single one of you out one by one. I said, it's going to be amazing. I said, and I can't wait. Once again, playing those mind game things. I said, or if any of you are man enough, I said, you could do something right now. But then I was a little confused because they all rushed outside, and they had their cameras out, and they're all sitting there being like, oh, did you just hit Josh in the face? Did you just hit Josh in the face? I'm like, really? I was like, nobody's going to buy this. And I think I have enough people that are also witnesses that'll have my back here, but once again, that got sent to production, and nobody came out and had my back on it other than, like me, Cara, Cam, Kaylee, and CT. Production has to make decisions that have to do with it, and I respect their decisions. They have to cool people off. You've seen people have to take a couple season breaks. It's just it's protocol. So do I think it was a weak, cheap way of getting me to not compete for 2 seasons in a row? Yeah.
But in a Mike Lewis interview, he said he got the availability call for the Challenge 37, though he turned it down because he was busy training to try out for the US bobsled team.
Most recent season that is filming right now, obviously I had to turn it down for the obvious reason I'm chasing this Olympic dream.
The interview I'm referencing is from 2021, almost 2 years after what happened in War of the Worlds 2 reunion. In the interview, he seemed to be understanding of production's side. Now, one can look at the evidence and point at how, in the parking lot, some cast members were making jokes of the situation.
Let's all calm down, Leroy, calm down!
Some could look at Paulie's Instagram videos and say that they are more cringe than threatening. Now, if the allegations of Paulie being violent against Josh are fabricated, and cast members willingly lied to production to bar him from getting on the show, that's shameful and absolutely wrong of them to do. But at the same time, Paulie isn't completely innocent in all of this. Paulie's the one making videos with hand gestures that some could see as concerning behavior. Paulie has shown a level of anger on the show that resulted in multiple security guards having to get involved. Paulie is the one instigating other castmates in a hotel lobby, calling them out for being weak, and how he will take them out one by one. All of this happening not during a season, but a night before a reunion. And if a good amount of cast members are saying in interviews with or talking to production about a cast member harassing them or making them feel uncomfortable with some concerning behavior they've seen, well, production has to take all of that into account. Now, this explains Paulie's absence, but what about Cara? For Cara Maria, there was a rumor that sparked that she stayed away from the challenge because she wouldn't do it without Paulie. I actually think it goes deeper than that. Cara Maria was a challenge staple and the face of the show at one point, but there were things that rubbed Cara Maria the wrong way leading up to what happened in October 2019. Things that made her feel she was wronged by production. They dropped Paulie on the words of not only her castmates, but people that were against her the past few seasons. It was Cara and Paulie versus the world. And when production sided with the quote-unquote enemy, I think Cara felt it was a slight against her. Not to mention, they made her the villain of War of the Worlds 2. The years she worked hard and for the show now felt like they were abandoning her. Her words aren't good enough, but Bananas, Josh, and many others were.
You do know that he is arguably the best player ever.
He's the best challenger for them. And how many finals have I made, TJ? When's the last time he was in a final?
Cara Maria and Paulie decided to take matters into her own hands and use any power they had to retaliate. In May, during an Instagram Live, Cara would share her side of events, heavily criticizing castmates and accusing them of using illegal substances.
One certain castmate got all of his other coked out and extremely drunk castmates who follow his every word to come out, jump Paulie, basically, like come harass him and be like, hey, I'm watching this, and I'm like, please don't take the bait, don't take the bait. Paulie took the bait, and these castmates then proceeded to take the videos and then message the higher ups and say, oh, Paulie punched Josh. There was a bunch of drama that ensued, a bunch of people saying these videos, that one, like, we feel afraid, he's a school, we're afraid that, he's gonna come us, and we don't feel safe in a challenge house with Paulie. That's what happened. So you get a bunch of drunk, cooked out castmates, led by their leader, who went out and did exactly what they were told the night before the reunion that caused him not to be on season. These castmates are the reason why, half the reason why I said no. Fuck these guys. That's what happened. So you can thank the castmates that are thriving this season, that are part of the numbers this season, for the fact that me and Paulie are not there. Who's doing certain castmates.
Once Total Madness ended and Bananas was crowned one of the winners, Cara Maria was quick to throw production under the bus, making claims that the season was rigged for him to get his 7th win. And calling out production and other castmates would not cease over the course of their hiatus. A soundbite that is being passed around at the time of making this video is one from a live in late 2021 where Cara says,
Dominance trifecta.
I don't think I'm allowed back until Tori wins.
No one can deny the timing of Tori winning the Challenge 38 and Cara set to make her challenge comeback on the Challenge All-Stars 4 as being suspicious. But I don't think Tori winning has anything to do with Cara's absence. If anything, I feel another video was more damaging to Cara. In September 2020, a video from Laurel's YouTube channel was posted to Reddit. It's a random moment from Rivals. Laurel had a camera and was filming a monkey that was eating fruit in the challenge house. At one point, Cara was asking what the monkey's name is and suggests,
Is that his name, Monkey? Monkey. Or should we call him Tyree?
His name's Ralph. No.
Tyree.
Comments flooded the Reddit post and soon it took to social media about how racist her comments were on the video. The video was sent to Tyree, who was rightfully angered. Around this time, The Challenge and MTV were parting ways with people who showed problematic behavior. We saw Dee completely edited out of the back half of Total Madness, and Taylor Selfridge was fired from MTV. Every network was cleaning house, from Bravo, The Bachelor, and many more. In 2020, with Jordan on Total Madness, clips of him and Nia from their Real World season back in 2013 were circulating online.
What's wrong with you? Everything up. I'm your ass.
Making monkey jokes at a female that just happens to be black, dude, you don't do that. That's just blatantly disrespectful.
They took to an Instagram Live and more to discuss the past Real World moments and to apologize.
We want to, figure out how we can move forward
talk about the movement. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, what the most frustrating part about watching these clips get circulated is that they're just clips. And these trolls, you trolls, are trying to push this crap when the real lesson should be right here. How do we grow from this? How do we take people who have made mistakes and how do we teach them to fight for the cause?
And for me, there's no coincidence in my mind that Cara's first season back on the challenge will be on All Stars 4, where Tyree will also be making his The Challenge return. Something else that could have stopped Cara from being on the challenge was the uncertainty of her vaccination status. For a while, many would speculate if Cara Maria was vaccinated after seeing some of her social media posts, as well as her aversion to needles, which we saw in War of the Worlds. Paulie was training and trying out for the USA bobsled team, so his vaccination status was known to everyone. In early 2022, Paige from the Most Likely To podcast confirmed Cara was indeed vaccinated, which would make her eligible to be on the challenge cast. But no calls would be made for her to appear on the challenge for early 2022. Not even in the Challenge Untold History docuseries. She didn't even appear in a segment that classified her as a GOAT of the game. I mean, Paulie was even asked to be a guest on this, but not Cara Maria? She stated that she was never asked to be in the documentary. Many would be confused by this, taking to Twitter and other social medias to show displeasure. I think it was important for Cara Maria to take a break from the show. I'm sure she would have wanted to take it on her own time and return when she wanted to, but in interviews she said that during the hiatus she's gotten to find a bit more of herself and learn more about the Cara without the challenge.
I was like, not doing challenges anymore. I'm like, who am I? If I'm not Cara on the challenge, like that's what I did all the time. It was, and if not the challenge, it was an after show, a reunion, this, a that. It was always something with the challenge. And where I was just kind of thrown in the dumpster, I was like, okay, well, what do I do while I'm in this dumpster here?
By War of the Worlds 2, Cara Maria had done 6 straight seasons, 5 of which she went to the finals. The pressure of the game and drama from the season I felt was mounting on her shoulders. She was carrying a lot with her, and doing so many seasons back to back and going to the bitter end in all of them, there was no rest. There was no reprieve. I truly think she lost herself in the game. She lost sight of real life and a reality show.
I think my last season, I was just I think that was my breaking point. And I think people definitely saw me at my worst. I probably should have taken that season off for sure, looking back on it.
During the hiatus, Cara and Paulie have done a lot to set themselves up financially outside of reality TV. Paulie was always someone who grinds. When the pandemic and lockdown happened, he resurrected his Awake the Lion series on his YouTube channel, making it an at-home workout series, moving away from the podcast format when he originally started it back in 2018. He posted from January 2020 to April 2020. Then he made a website called awakethelion.com in which he sold workout programs, supplements, merch, and tried recruiting influencers. They promoted this on social media for a while before moving on to the next venture. Once travel restrictions were lifted, Paulie and Cara made 10 Escape. According to Paulie and Cara's description on the Watch With Us podcast, it sounds like it's a company to help create a safe space for models and influencers to make content while also providing photographers and photo shoots in a glamorous destination. They also were looking to possibly manage talent at these events, but then described the events as a sort of meet and greet with allowing the people to be on vacation with them at the same time. They'd have designated schedules for the whole weekend, with mini challenges also set up. Honestly, listening to them describe what happened at these events really confused me. Unfortunately, trying to get a clearer picture of what 10 Escape was or did yielded no results, as the website was deleted and the Instagram page no longer is available. But I think that's because 10 Escape transformed into 10 Productions. They went from destination events to trying to cash in on the celebrity boxing trend. According to Paulie via the 10 Productions Instagram page, they sold out the event and might be playing an event in 2023. But something tells me Paulie and Cara have been putting their time and energy into another business venture. Something else to notice on this poster for the fight night is the promotion of 10 MGMT, a talent management company for models, brands, OF content creators, and more, says their site. This content resembles a lot of what was posted when 10 Escape was a thing. And it looks like Paulie and Cara dropped a lot of the event stuff and honed in on the talent agency aspect, as that's where a lot of the money is going to be made. According to their site, they have over 30 OF content creators under 10 management. They still host modeling events and other live events to create content, as well as sell tickets to general admission. The business looks to have gone live in 2021, as that's when the first post to Instagram was, and about a year after Calafiore Talent Management LLC was created. In 2021, Paulie tweeted out that he had 3 businesses that made him and Cara over 7 figures. I couldn't find anywhere to verify this fact, but I'm sure if it is true, then the majority of the money is coming from the management company. Cara has been an integral part of the business, being a founder, partner, photographer, model, and creator. And it's through being a photographer, she refound a passion that she may have lost by doing so much reality TV.
He knew I love photography. Anytime we do an event, it's like I like finding people while their personalities coming through, while they're doing what they do that makes them them. And so I would do that with my phone at every event. And Paulie's like, you do this all the time. Like, why don't you just do what you love this? Just do it. So then I got to pursue it at our events, and I love it so much.
This is the part where I would end on a cliffhanger to tease the next part of the Cara saga. But at the time of posting this video, the next scenes haven't happened yet. It's not over. In fact, a new branch in the journey is about to sprout. Cara will be making her return to the challenge in All Stars Season 4. I want to leave this video's ending open, as the story continues to write itself. I think the only fitting way to end the video is